once again, she has entrusted me with the responsibility of conducting the show. So, see what we can do. So at this time, usually, I open the lines so that you all can call in to extend your good morning greetings to who you may wish. Those of you who may be sitting around your kitchen table, good morning to Mr. and Mrs. Giuseppe. Those who are in their hammock, or you're in your cars making your way to church, perhaps to the market, to the grocery. Good morning to all of you all. And yes, so see, we have here. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Good morning.
And how are you today?
I am good.
Yes, I'm bright and chirpy. Nice to have you again this Sunday.
Thank you.
And nice to hear you during the week too, you know. We listening.
Nice.
Yes, bangers with Sharon and Bruce. Anyhow, I'd like to say good morning to you, to Sharon, wherever she is. I hope she's in good health. To Mr. Chance, to Jenny, to Mother Tunapuna, to the South and all the rest of Titans and all the management and staff of 91.9. I want you to have a blessed day and a blessed week. Dominic, when you are going to return to it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
I said good morning
Morning.
to my tall, dark, and handsome son.
Morning, mother.
Blessings and greetings and plenty love to you.
And to you.
Mm-hmm. Sharon, what she says, she's off today?
Yes.
That's all right. You're doing a fantabulous job, and she have a good sidekick in you.
Yes.
Doing a real good job. So, Sharon, it's all right. We're satisfied. Mr. Chance and Jenny, good morning. Angie, I love you. Good morning. Good morning to who else again? Miss Gloria, Miss 1285, and the lady who just shouted me out there, good morning, honey bunny. And good morning to everyone. When I hang up, I just remember everybody, you know. Miss Thomas, good morning, sweetheart. Who else again? I just say, Manu! And hey, Dominic, I don't know if you do offer Brother Sterling, but we ain't hearing him at all, you know.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard him in a while, you know.
We got hearing Brother Sterling, and we have somebody who knows that just have to go and look for the man. Because, you know, he's a devoted one of us. You know, oh God, I hope and pray everything is all right with him. Because we have Radio Land, we just quick to forget people. Very, very quick we just forget people. But that's all right, I pray Almighty God have him safe wherever he's at. And who else ever forget all Mr. Julian, good morning, my darling, to you and your family. And to all the callers, the listeners, to everybody internationally. Always stay blessed and stay in love. Okay, Dominic, I looked out and I listened. I'm about to start my lunch today. You want to know what I'm cooking today, Dominic?
Yes, because I know I'll see a picture just now on Facebook.
I know you just check me out, you know. I have a yari, the final yari, I took all it's only yari eating, you know. But I buy yari, I buy them one time, clean them, season them, put them away. So I'm going to make some green pigeon peas. My friend, the Regis family in Enterprise. My darling sweetheart, Kathleen, she, that's a friend where they could buy green pigeon peas and shell it and send it to you, know, Dominic. I'm going to make a rice and peas, cook up with that and a nice little coconut. I'm going to cook yari, and I'm making callaloo.
Nice.
And on the side of the callaloo, I'm making a beautiful, all-inclusive cuckoo. Dominic, check me out.
All right.
You hear that? You hear
Yes.
that? Say all-inclusive cuckoo. You see, when I make a dish, they don't come to contest me. And they can't contest me, you know. I'm better in the food in the cooking department. So, you don't see salad. I don't advertise salad. Because salad is wanted all the time, you know?
You're right.
But the main course, man, I just jam them. I come in anyhow, they come in behind them. With them, against them, for them, anyhow they want to test me, come. Good morning to my friend, Mr. Bowen, Curtis Bowen, good morning. And morning to everybody at court. When I start to cook, I do call and use the phone when I'm on food and cooking my food, spit it up all on the food. I don't do that. Mr. God. Later, Dominic.
All right, brother. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Good morning to all the members of Iwer Station, everybody, and all God's blessing on them. And I pray today that tomorrow that the victory for the PNM in all the nations. Okay?
Yes.
All God's blessing, my son. And Sharon, good morning. You may have to call me. Don't forget, there's something important. Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Bless. Good Sunday morning to you, Dominic.
Good morning. Same to you.
Grace and peace to you and your family.
And to you.
Thank you. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to my family. A special good morning to Almighty God. First, I want to thank my Creator for allowing me to see another day like unto today. I want to tell him how much I love him and how much I adore him and how much I will continue serving him until my end. Good morning. A special good morning to Miss Angie. Grace and peace unto you, Angie, and thanks. Good morning to Mommy Sauce. Good morning to Leader George and his wife. A special good morning goes out to Miss Carol. And a special good morning goes out to my friend Anne in Long Circular. And everybody else, good morning. Dominic, thanks for the opportunity. I'll be listening until I will be off to church. Sharon, a blessed good morning to you. Grace and peace to you and your family, Sharon. Thanks, Dominic, for the opportunity.
Not a problem.
Later.
I can take one quick one because the ads are coming up. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Greetings to you and yours, my brother.
And to you too.
Sharon and her immediate family and the 91 family, Mother Monica. Happy to hear your voice this morning. And I want to say to everyone, let us just continue to trust in the Lord with all our heart. Don't lean on our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him and he will direct our path. I just like Sister Mother Monica because I just finished in cook to leave. So I just miss your cook up. But I trust God that you're going to cook a nice pot this morning. You're going to make people remember things that we seem to forget. And I pray, God, that the victory will be ours tomorrow, please, God. It is already won, but we have to trust God to the uttermost. Tobago, we lift you before the Almighty God, that when you will do what is right, be according to the person. When you're seeing something in the day, you can't take light to see it in the night. So let us trust in the Lord. Love every one of us. Dr. Rowley, thank God for your speedy recovery. Our minister who went through a surgery, Miss Camille, we praying for you. You too are going to come out strong and victorious. The worst is past. Safe deliverance has come, and we speak for speedy recovery. And all others who are sick or going through trying times, we lift you before God. Don't let go your faith and your confidence. Just trust him, and everything will be all right. Have a wonderful and a blessed morning.
Thank you. Right, so we go to the ads, and when we come back, we continue to take some more of your calls. So stay locked to the Street 919 FM.
And have your merry time.
The Royal Castle Soca Shot on the Street 919. The Royal Castle Soca Shot on the Street 919.
Hey, na 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 na. Ooh, na 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 na. Lord, na 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 na. Question: when last you set? When last you party? When last you set? No time. When last you party? This pandemic come and mash up the place like a raging storm, boy. What we gonna do now to have some fun, yeah? Sitting in the living room, only writing big tune. Wearing a mask, for nobody is immune. You must say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping the faith, keeping alive. Positive vibe, taking a swim with a beautiful wife. Everything nice, but I'm fed up watching TV. Getting fat by eating plenty. Somebody please tell me, when next we go jump up? Oh yo yo, that party on a rooftop. Ay ay ay, tell them now when next we go jump up. Oh yo yo, pop champagne like the big shot. Ay ay ay, yeah me look at me tell me all of them. When next we go take a little jump up? When next we go take a little wave? No time to misbehave, but I really need to get out the stage. When next we go take a little jump up? When next we go take a little wave? I need to be on a stage. Well have your fet, well have your party, well have your fet. Long time. When next we go party, long time. If 2020 was a password, no if no maybe, people would have been telling people, how you 2020? Can't even line in the mall, man holding their head and ball. Not one promoter take up a phone and give me a call, boy. I'm fed up inside the house and pressure washing the yard, boy. This pandemic lockdown trying to send me mad, boy. Can't see me good friends and faces, afraid to go to the beaches and so many other places. When next we go jump up? Boy, yo, yo, boy, and party on a rooftop. Ay, 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 tell them now when next we go jump up? Boy, yo, pop champagne like a big shot. Ay, 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 ay.
That was the Royal Castle Soca Shot on the Street 919. That was the Royal Castle Soca Shot on the Street 919.
Good morning, baby. I love you.
Fancy up in the morning. She got her makeup on 100. She got me feeling we could lay up again. Yeah. She said, baby, I'm leaving, but it's early in the morning. Baby, where you really going now? It's too early in the morning to be out of bed, my love. Put your phone on silent. You don't need to be up right now. Yeah. So let me give you some affection, because that's what you need right now. Yeah. I wanna teach you one lesson. So baby, come here, come here, come. Touch. I know you need it. 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 Yeah. I want you to stay with me, so we could make love like it's my birthday.
This is song now. Mash up the place and give the people what them want. So when the big truck come down and the people in tongue, it's like the first time I play in mass. So don't focus on what he say, don't focus on what she say. Just keep focus on Iwer. Listen what KMC say. When Iwer said to jump up, when Iwer said to wave up, KMC said to jump up and wave up and jump up and wave up. Let's mash up the place. What the fuck can I mash up the place? I shall not be blessed. If I had one wish, let's mash up the place.
This is Wayne Delamore, Head Consultant and Director of Natural Health Solution. With over 15 years of experience in clinical nutrition and microscopy, we specialize in early detection and prevention. We incorporate evidence-based nutrition and science-driven analysis. Tune in to our educational program every Wednesday at 9:05 to 9:55 a.m. right here on the street 91.9 FM. For appointments, call 222-2189 or 304-5816. At Natural Health Solutions, we offer a natural solution to healthy living.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Get great New Year savings with Extra Foods Plenty for 20. Twist juices 7 for $20. Josing noodles 6 for $20. Paytrax cans 4 for $20. Cricks Minis 5 for $20. Moo chocolate milk 5 for $20. Nestle cream butterfly 4 for $20. Libby's mac and cheese 4 for $20. Marigold margarine 4 for $20. Maybelline tomato ketchup 4 for $20. And sparkling beach 5 for $20. So many great Plenty for 20 specials. And sale runs until February 5th. Extra Foods. Always extra for less.
Join Bishop Aaron and the Divine Problem Solving International Ministries together with ministers and choirs from Ghana, the Republic of the Congo, the Republic of Uganda, the United States, London, and from right here in Trinidad and Tobago on February 6th and February 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here on the Street 919 FM. For a closer look at spiritual principles of the Acts of the Apostles and a renaissance of your own faith in Jesus Christ. Bishop Aaron and the Divine Problem Solving International Ministries on February 6th and February 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here on the Street 919 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iwer George on Instagram. Share the live. Iwer TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome back to all of you listeners of the Street 919 FM. Thank you for staying locked. And we continue to take your calls. Those of you who know you're accustomed calling in to extend your good morning greetings. Well, so I got a call just now that Brother Sterling is okay. He just has some, issues that he's dealing with, but he will. Don't worry. He's good. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Hey, man, morning.
Morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And Brother Sterling, I was wondering something. I want to know what happened because, I'm not there's an audience call and everybody listen to hear what they have to say. And then we miss some of the callers,
Yes.
Morning, Mr. Rapuna, you start with this kind of thing and this pigeon field and all this yard and all kind of things. It make I don't understand why you have to put your food in the air. And you know it have people hungry out there who want some of your food and you ain't giving them none. I mean, if a noise party living I come down to that posse, we eat out the pot for you. I will say morning to Zina, good morning to 1285 again, and morning to Passy Street, and our surrounding Miss Friday, Jackie and Jackie. Gloria, good morning to you, Miss Faizabad. The whole of Tobago, Olga and Oma. Good morning to Claudette and Jenny out there. Good morning to our local Jenny. Morning, Carol. I heard you this morning. Thanks for remembering me. Good morning to everybody. Sharon, Ilahi, put up your foot up in the air and take some breeze and relax. I knew, oh God, I forget to go on Tobago. Anyway, good morning to everybody. Google, good morning to you. Ben and, well, everybody. All the people at Bonnet Gardens and Mount Hope. Good morning, Mr. Diamond. Where are you going? The Davis said that Rouse Suchan. Good morning, Miss Lyons. Good morning to neighbor Lynn John. Good morning to the Wilson Sloan. What's happening? Everybody. Love to everybody. Dominic, boy.
Manu, you cooking today?
But I ain't cooking nothing. I can't cook. If I can get somebody to bring some food from I will feel good. Anybody passing my restaurant, Puna? If you put a portion, nothing about a dish, I want food in a good dish. Yeah. And let me say good morning to Ezra, to my girlfriend, Miss Sharon. Good morning to you. Well, good morning to everybody. And love is the answer. Remember, give somebody something today. Don't look back for something because you give, but give somebody something today. Olga and Oma, Olga, by everybody running, they want to, they need look for information in Olga. Good thing everybody watching me knew that to pick up on that. A gallery me sure you make it for me, Olga. Anyway, love to everybody. What's the name? Not Google, Bruce. You lie in this morning, eh? Anyway, I know you don't need the turkey, but you eat turkey next day. Mommy sauce, kote se, kote la, girl. Bacanal in me tongue,
But it's something else. Hello, good morning.
Hey, Dominic, morning.
Morning, sir.
Hey, Manu, morning. Manu, ain't easy at all, am I? I just want to say I love to Jatchiran in Tobago, you know. Or Jatchiran that is out there.
Yes.
In a good fight, you know. Standing firm. No humble. Love and respect to all the other opposition parties still. We must have fighters still. So after all the storm, there must be a calm and go build up. Jealous, challenge.
Yes, sir. So we continue to take your calls, folks, as we go up to the 10 o'clock hour. Good morning to the folks out in Tobago as they engage in their last set of campaigning in advance of tomorrow's polls. Hello, good morning.
Oh, top of the morning to you, my dear Dominic.
Good morning.
How are you today? You sounding good.
I am good.
Well, praise God. I want to send out early morning greetings to Miss Monica, Miss Mommy Sauce, Angie, Zena, Miss Point 14, all the women of substance who call into your program, the 91.9.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want to quote this that Dr. Williams, Dr. Manning, he got a doctorate from Medgar University.
Yes.
Are you aware, Dominic?
Yes, and he said he was not going to use the title. Yes.
Well, I given it to him this morning.
Yes.
So, Dr. Rowley, Dr. Manning, and Dr. Williams. And the psalm they would quote is, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, so, and it was so good to hear Miss Monica this morning. Feel good. And also to Manu, as I was telling Kiana, Mr. Manu is always a man, always speaking positive words. I've never heard him being negative.
Yes.
Always positive. Spread the love. And also to send out healing greeting. May God, Jehovah God, heal Miss Camille Robinson Regis and put her back on the road to a speedy recovery. That warrior woman, that fighter, God is in your corner, my dear. And to all the other ministers and everybody, and those who are participating in the elections tomorrow, may the best man win. And we know people are going to make the right choice. Because if you don't, the things we do today are going to impact on us for a long time. So Tobago people, if you don't make the right choice, you have nobody but yourself to blame, and something you have to live with. Remember Sanders? Sanders went to all the other islands, and they're doing well. And Tobago missed out because Tobago people stood by and allowed stupid people to talk foolishness, and you lost out. Don't do the same thing again. Do what is right for your children and your children's children. And for the local government here, may the best people be put into office. People want proper representation, you know? Mm-hmm. So, enough said, love to everybody. Oh, and to our guru, Mr. Chance. I'm not hearing you, Mr. Chance. And also to Brother Sterling. So, I've said enough. So, blessings, my dear Dominic. I'll wait to hear what you have to serve up on your plate this morning.
Yes.
I know you're coming cotton. Right? And to Dr. Rowley, stand your ground. Because if you all slip, you and the government slip with this pandemic, we're in the throes of the pandemic, and people start to drop like flies, it's something you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. So you're going to stand firm. But the people hate you for doing what is right. Then you give in, and people dropping like flies. You alone have to live with that. So blessings to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Morning.
And morning to Trinidad and Tobago and the wider world that listens to us, all the 919 supporters and listeners all around the world. Miss Monica, love to you. I always love this woman. Thank you for calling me out this morning. I always love this woman's voice. Never met her, but fall in love with her and with her peace, the kind of peace she bring on through her voice and the love. So, Miss Monica, I hope everything is A-okay with you, and thank God for life and health and strength in 2021 and all the good things you wish for yourself or wish you see. And all the old callers, the all long-time callers in of 919, come on, we want to hear you in 2021. Come back on the radio. Let us hear. There are lots of callers that drop off. So I hope they come back on and give us some of their ideas and wisdom. So, Dominic, I'm listening.
Yes.
Thanks for getting in. Everybody have a great day and a blessed week. And the women in Tobago, I like to talk to the women. I'm talking to the women in Tobago. You know what the necktie gives. You know what Duke stands for, embarrassing and insulting women and other things, which is in the court. You know of them. Do not do like the PSA woman and put this man and his put together party over you. You know when things don't go right with him, how we come out and start to call women all kind of derogatory names. You know him. Don't let him pull wool over your eyes. Women of Tobago stand for something that is right, honorable, decent. I mean, PNM is not the perfect party because no man is perfect. So mistakes going to be made. The support appointments, you'll have disappointments, you'll have time of disappointment, you'll have time of to giving them praise for what they're doing. But all in all, I don't see any other government in Trinidad and Tobago, no other party that is right now that could run this place like the PNM. It's just a fact. It's not what I want. It's the fact that is out there. There is no other party on the scene right now that could run Trinidad and Tobago like the PNM, with people in mind and trying to do the right thing with no corruption or little corruption as possible. So I am appealing to the women in Tobago. See what Duke has to offer. See what that mannerism, the way he carry about himself. Do you want him to be talking to women in the PHA like that when they don't agree with him? When he wants to pass something, or do you want him to be speaking to women like yourself like that? Please don't follow people because blindly or because you don't like somebody on the other side. Duke is not good for nobody. I don't know how the women in the PSA stand by and let this man be leader again. It is so disheartening. Women of Tobago stand for some kind of dignity and respect. Somebody who respects you. Stand for that. Dominic, have a good day listening.
You too. You know, and as Carol and the last caller made mention of the issue of COVID, and while some people may still decide to downplay, I was listening to a live from a UNC supporter, UNC activist. What's the gentleman's name? Winston Ragu. He was supposed to be a psychic, and now he's one of the most vocal activists for the UNC on social media. And he was seeking to downplay the seriousness of COVID. And he's talking about, if it was serious, we wouldn't have had 170-something people in a PNM meeting, and we would not have had the second Sunday concert in Queen's Hall. But just to give you all an idea of some numbers here, right? This is yesterday. In the United States, there were 172,000 new cases of COVID. 3,427 people died in the USA yesterday from COVID. Brazil, 61,000 new cases. 1,176 people died in Brazil yesterday from COVID. In the United Kingdom, 33,000 new cases. 1,348 people died in the UK yesterday. And the list is long. I mean, in Jamaica, to bring it back home, yesterday Jamaica saw an increase. Let me see there, right? And remember, Jamaica reopened their borders back in June or July last year. 114 new cases yesterday, and 4 people died in Jamaica. But it's not serious. Okay. Hello, good morning.
And good morning to you, Dominic.
Morning.
And I think I haven't spoken to you for the New Year, so all the best that you wish yourself.
And to you.
Thank you. Dominic, with every crime there is a victim.
Yes.
So often we forget that victim. While this man is on television and he's stinging himself in front of everybody and being so arrogant and ignorant, what about the victim? Still about that victim, after what was done to him, to look at this man who is living the best of his life and aspiring to achieve great office. And the population, sometimes women, according to Vina, sometimes we are our worst enemies. How could you just say that you're going to put a vote for a man who he's not just accused of, Dominic, he was charged. What's about that victim? It's always the victim that's forgotten. And in this case, it looks as though the crime is when it's forgotten.
Yes.
So let us think about that victim. And women, when you vote tomorrow, think about that victim. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you. And the goodly gentleman loves to boast that the women love him. Everywhere Watson goes, the women love him. And I was listening to, you all would have heard how he would have, abused the Auditor General in a meeting recently where he told her, you already do your report, shut your mouth, and don't come up to Tobago and I'll make your life a living hell and so on. But on my way down this morning, I was listening to an ad which is made up of clippings of things that this gentleman has said on the campaign trail at different meetings. And I was hearing one where he said he wants to have a COVID mask competition and is inviting women to wear thongs and bras as masks, and who could wear the best thongs and the best bra as a mask on your face. And this is somebody who's aspiring to hold on to public office, right? And he expects women to vote for that. But we know there will be women who will vote for him, because they love the Duke of Abercrombie, right? But what message are you sending when you vote for such an individual? And your excuse is, yeah, that's just old talk, that's just political banter, that's just picong, par for the course, right? Okay, no problem. That's your choice. If you say so, I vote for him. But when he continues that disrespect because he's of the opinion, wherever the Duke goes, the women love him. They love the Duke. The people love Duke. They like that brash, uncouth way about him. Donald Trump said the same thing too, grab women by the genitals, and thousands and millions of women voted for him and put him into office. And he still got 75 million votes in the last election. Millions of women voted for him despite that. But then ask them, if it is because as he said, if it is that you're a celebrity and you're well known, you could grab them by the genitals and it's okay, they don't mind. But the same people who will just dismiss it, if it is he were to come and grab your daughter by the genitals or grab you by the genitals, will you just dismiss it? That's just how he is. Okay. So the polls are tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. I have all confidence that the PNM is going to win. Whether or not Mr. Duke is going to retain his seat, that's another story. I think he doesn't think that he might, hence the reason he held on to the post of PSA president. I don't think he's 100% confident that he can hold on to that seat, because the disappointed that was meted out to him at the general elections, where he genuinely thought that he was going to win a seat and he was going to be kingmaker. It is his one seat that would decide who would be prime minister, and he would anoint himself in exchange for his one seat, but that didn't happen. So we must continue to earn tens of thousands of dollars every month. And what are you doing for that money? All right. Well, PSA people voted for him. Let's see what Tobago people will do. The ads are upon us, folks. Stay locked. We will be right back. Remember, you can join us on Facebook and YouTube. Hey!
If you see me in the country and moving like a monkey, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you see me in the city and acting like a tipsy, I drunk, but I mind my own business. So leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah. So if you see me in a party, whining on every shorty, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you search for my location and find it in a station, I drunk, but I mind my own business. So leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah. I drink the rum whole day, I drink the rum whole night. Don't study you not at all, I just want to drink more rum, more alcohol. Whole day, I drink the rum whole night. Don't study you not at all, I just want to drink more rum, more alcohol. Knock bottle and spoon and drink the rum. Beat iron and drum and drink the rum. Girl wind up on me and drink the rum. Drunk fashion, knock buckle and spoon and drink the rum. Beat iron and drum and drink the rum. Girl wind up on me and drink the rum. Drunk fashion, I drink by myself. My rum is my friend. My girl, she go close, still doing the most. If you see me on a Monday and act like if it's Friday, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you see me on a Juve and act like if it's payday, I drunk, but I mind my own business. Just leave me alone when I drinking rum. Just leave me alone. Whining on girl. Just leave me alone if I causing a scene. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
Peace in the name of the Lord Jesus. This is Bishop Tony from the Church at Christ is Built. I will be bringing the word of God to you on this very radio station, the Street 91.9 FM, on Wednesdays 11:15 to 11:45 a.m. Tune in and be blessed. My book, Your Future in the New Heaven and the New Earth, will be on sale. Purchase a copy of Your Future in the New Heaven and New Earth. Call 1-868-364-2119, 1-868-363-4520, or 1-868-287-0850. Where are you going to spend the rest of your life after death? Jesus said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. You could live in one of those mansions happily forever after you die if you believe. Look in and listen, call and clarify, purchase and be blessed. In Jesus' name.
January 25th, put your X by the ballot and vote for the PNM in the local government by-election. For Ariba Central, Dr. Juliet Hillary Bernard. For Canupia, Rashid Ali. For Hindustan St. Mary's, Martina Lubon Lejar. For Hollywood, Leslie Shang Fong. And for Montcoco Alice Glenn, Janelle Schuler Smart. All our PNM candidates are committed to serving their communities with excellence. On January 25th, vote for excellence. Vote for the right choice. Vote for the PNM. Great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
Missy Voice PNM, all the way on election day. It's the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the police. Hey.
Turn your lights down low and listen to the Master's Radio.
The Church of the Firstborn Assembly Miracle Center of 399 Eastern Main Road, Waiko in Sangre Grande is pleased to present Pastor Morris and Agnes Johnson and guests on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays here on the Street 919 FM. The Ministry of Worship Children's Hour and the Word is on Sundays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. On Tuesdays from 9 p.m. to midnight, see Jesus in every book of the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And on Wednesdays from 9 p.m. to midnight, where we deal with current affairs from a biblical perspective. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell everyone. For further information, visit us at www.churchofthefirstbornassembly.org or find us on Facebook. Email us at church668hope@gmail.com or call us at 753-1113 or 236-7271. Your free will gifts and offerings will be greatly appreciated. First Citizens Bank account number 795222.
Listen for the call. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on.
Ikaro, I am Alatumishe Ifabamishe Aganki, better known as MC Duke, and every Monday between the hours of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I host a show called Orisha, The Way of Life, right here on the Sheet 919 FM, where I have guests passing through from the Orisha Ifa Baptist Diaspora to educate, edify, and inform you, the listening public, about Orisha Ifa practices. So remember to tune in every Monday between the hours of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for Orisha, The Way of Life.
Royal Castle happily presents our New Year giveaway. When you buy a family meal, you could be in to win some happiness. A kitchen appliance combo of a new stove, fridge, and microwave. Whoa! A living room set, a washer-dryer combo, or a dining room set. Other goodies include Samsung Smart TVs, grocery vouchers, or one of 20 tablets. Just write your info on your bill and slip it into the entry box in store. It's easy to win with our New Year giveaway.
Share the line. Share the line. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the line. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the line. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the line. The Street 919 FM.
TR, said it right. Yo. Na, yeah. Get tired of the heartbreaking. So done with the love chasing. You're done with man, no good options. The good men gone, yeah. You said that you're done dating. As soon as you get naked, the message done, the phone call's done, the homeboy gone. I know you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. So girl, try a little too much. Cause you don't know your worth. So girl, you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. Would you really give up on the love you deserve? I'm on that one time. Yeah, what you need, I'm on that one time. Yeah, not for a night, I'm on that one time. Yeah, I'm on that one time. Be there when you call, yeah. Who feels it knows it. Yeah, you want a real one, just bring it and show it. All you want is sex on the flooring, then leave like tourists. Oh, you've been waiting down for too long. It's time to heal up, it's time to move on. No mistake, you got to come strong, get with your program. I know you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. So girl, try a little too much. Cause you don't know your worth. So girl, you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. Would you really give up on the love you deserve? I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, what you need, I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, not for a night, I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, I'm on that one time. Be there when you call,
So it's a wrap for today. I think we were able to get everything completed, and I'm so happy that you were able to tell your story, and I really think that the audience would gravitate to your message. So once again, thank you, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
I know you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. So girl, try a little too much. Cause you don't know your worth. So girl, you've been through enough. I know deep down it hurts. Would you really give up on the love you deserve? I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, what you need, I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, not for a night, I'm on that one time of you. Yeah, I'm on that one time. Be there when you call, yeah.
And welcome back, and thank you for staying locked to Street 919 FM. Right, so let's get to it. So, right. So last week, we saw that the government made another announcement with respect to this whole patriotic bid for the refinery, the Guaracara refinery, having won the bid. All right, give me 1 sec. Right, so remember you can join us on Facebook as well as on YouTube, Iwer TV. So interact with us on the social media platforms as well. Right, so we were just ironing out technical glitches and so on. So, for yet another time, the government had announced that Patriotic was unsuccessful in their bid to control the refinery, to restart the refinery, and by extension, the production of refined fuels in Trinidad and Tobago. And, as has become the norm, yet again, on the heels of the announcement by the government, the head of Patriotic, the head of the OWTU, would have held a press conference to state the case of the OWTU, Patriotic, and also to appeal to the government yet again to hold their hand, not so fast. And the Prime Minister would have again intervened in the matter and provided yet another extension to Patriotic and the OWTU. Now, I think it goes without saying that a significant portion of the country would like to see Patriotic and the OWTU get control of the refinery, get it going again, so that we could see that iconic flare once again burning bright as you make your way to and from the Southland. But it seems ever since the announcement was made that Patriotic had, in the first instance, won the bid, there has been no end to the issues and the struggles of Patriotic to sign on the dotted line for one reason or the other. But the government has continued to demonstrate, and as has been said by the ministers of finance and the Minister of Energy, the government is bending over backwards to make this thing work. And I think anybody who questions the sincerity of the government in wanting to give or to have Patriotic operate the refinery is doing so with ulterior motives, because this thing has been ongoing since September of 2019. We are now in January, almost at the end of January 2021, and the government remains and continues to engage Patriotic. And at every turn, the Prime Minister has had to intervene to give them a little extension. Because every time a decision is taken, look, they didn't qualify, these are the reasons why they didn't qualify, but we cannot afford to continue in this vein. We cannot afford to leave the refinery idle, because the longer we do that, is the more the value of the assets are going to depreciate, and the more it's going to cost whoever eventually gets the refinery, or whoever expresses a valid or worthwhile interest in the refinery, is the more money that they're going to have to pay to one, restart, and the longer it's going to take. And the government simply cannot afford that at this time. But no sooner had the government indicated that they were going to give an extension to Patriotic, a further 15-day extension, the leader of the opposition, in usual fashion, wasted no time in blasting the government, and more specifically calling for the resignation of the Prime Minister. So I'm reading here from Daily Express article dated Wednesday, 20th January 2021. Kamla slams government's incompetence in handling refinery. Will the government allow Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to purchase the Petrotrin refinery? This was one of several questions raised yesterday in a news release issued by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, following government's rejection of Patriotic Energy's limited bid for the refinery. Stating that the rejection came as no surprise, Persad-Bissessar added that the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, must immediately resign for his unforgivable display of negligence and incompetence, which has placed Trinidad and Tobago in grave jeopardy. The former Prime Minister said the news conference held yesterday by Finance Minister Colman Burt and Energy Minister Franklin Khan raised more questions than answers. Given that the Petrotrin refinery has been shut for almost 3 years now, and with ever-increasing costs to restart it, who will now want to purchase this asset, she asked. And we must also ask the question of whether or not the government will allow the Maduro regime the opportunity to purchase the refinery. Prasad Bisesa asked if Patriotic Energies had no set means of financing. On what basis did the government award them the refinery in the first place? Why was Minister Imbert so confident in October of 2019 that the refinery would be reopened in 12 months? It is clear now that all these promises by the government pre-election to place the refinery in the hands of citizens were baseless election gimmicks. The PNM Prasad Bisesa stated never intended to honor the pledge it made to sell the refinery to its former workers, adding that had Rowley and his government been serious about addressing citizens' socio-economic well-being and the energy sector, these Petrotrin issues would have been dealt with in a timely manner months before the 2020 general election. And this would have ensured the reopening of the refinery and also curb issues of forex shortages and unemployment. She said Rowley's government instead chose to put politics above people by allowing this to become yet another failed promise. For the past 2 years, the PNM has blatantly lied, giving false hope to thousands of ex-Petrotrin workers, now on the breadline that the refinery would be open. The people of Trinidad and Tobago must never forget this great betrayal of the PNM. Prasad Bisesa said the destruction of Petrotrin, along with the crisis unfolding at the Point Lisas industrial estate due to Rowley's bad gas negotiations, meant the energy sector is in complete meltdown. And the ramifications, she stated, are catastrophic. Prasad Bisesa stated as the largest earner of foreign exchange, the collapse of the energy sector will affect every citizen and the current forex crisis will only get worse. She noted that retailers have already warned that a food crisis is looming due to the inability for many to access forex. So says the leader of the opposition. And there are certain questions that she would have asked, and there were two in particular that I want to focus on and zero in today. But let me also give you the response of Ansel Roger, head of Patriotic and the President General of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. Roger, suspicious after failed Petrotrin bid. We were misled. That was the position advanced by Oilfield Workers Trade Union President General Ansel Roger yesterday, following a decision taken by Cabinet to reject the bid by OWTU-owned Patriotic Energies. Speaking during a news conference at the union's San Fernando headquarters, Roger said Patriotic's proposal was backed by banking group Citi to raise US $700 million, but the government placed a counteroffer on the table which derailed Patriotic's bid. Let me read that again. Speaking during a news conference at the Union San Fernando headquarters, Roger said Patriotic's proposal was backed by banking group Citi to raise US $700 million, but the government placed a counteroffer on the table which derailed Patriotic's bid. We would have been derailed by the government's offer. Government's offer through the Minister of Finance on September 25, 2019 would have derailed Patriotic because Patriotic came to the table with a support for US $700 million to purchase these assets, move on and start it, and all now we would have had a refinery operating. But the government said, no, listen, we have a better offer for you. We will give you 10 years to pay and 3 years to start paying, but here's some things to work out. Some 10 things to work out. We did all of that, but when the rubber hit the road, where we were supposed to really get this thing operational, the bondholders who were perhaps not a part of the government's offer said, no, it cannot happen. He said after doing market research, engaging a consortium, incorporating a company, and spending tens of millions of dollars, he would hate to think that government knew it was going to reject the proposal. I would hate to think that Finance Minister Colm Imbert on November 11, 2020 knew. We were misled, and the Cabinet must take responsibility and have in its deep consideration the fact that you misled this group and not shut the door on us. He said there was something suspicious surrounding Cabinet's decision to return to the open market to explore other options for the utilization of the refinery assets in the shortest possible time frame. He asked if there were discussions by Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited or the government through a backdoor channel or otherwise with any other agency while this process was going on. If you engage with me in earnest, you can't be talking to somebody else. And how quick would you get somebody to come out of the woodwork and quickly restart this refinery now if you were not talking, or somebody wasn't talking with somebody? He asked, why would cabinet take a decision after all of this time and resources had been expended? Even if you had a problem with that offer, why would you not respond to our letter to examine how this can be resolved once and for all? Roger said, since being mothballed in 2018, the refinery's assets have been deteriorating, and if government doesn't readily have someone, then it would be looking at a lengthy process with further deterioration of refinery assets. And the question is, if nobody responds, what then? Arguing that government did not bend over backwards to conclude the deal, as Energy Minister Franklin Khan said yesterday, Roger added that in addition to misleading the OWTU, the government appointed an evaluation team which the union believes is going to bring a preferred partner. He claimed there was a person on that team who was also a member of the transition team when Petrochin shut down and who consistently raised objections. He put all of the stumbling blocks in our way, in our deliberations, which is why the thing couldn't complete. They're always raising issues from one thing to the other. We couldn't complete, and this is why the Prime Minister started to say we're giving them October 13 deadline. But that wasn't our fault. It's not our fault. We have the money to restart. We accepted their offer in good faith. We accepted their offer from the Minister of Finance, but the offer was not true. It was not wholesome. It could not stand, and because your offer couldn't stand, the responsibility is on the government to ensure that the process completes. He said all government had to do was to remove the lien on the assets of Paria and Guaracara. They borrowed up to their throats, and those who are holding the assets are not about to release those assets, and therefore that continues to be the issue. He said both Imbut and Khan glossed over that during yesterday's news conference. All the government has to do is to make good on their commitment to remove the lien, and if you can't remove the lien to make good on your offer, tell the country that, and then let us proceed with Credit Suisse to close this agreement, Roger said. Now reading that, there are things that were mentioned in there and things that were not mentioned, which only seeks to further confuse the population. This is an issue in which the citizens of this country have a vested interest, not just financial, but emotional as well. Because there are a lot of people I've heard in the wake of that press conference where it was announced that Patriotic, for the second time, was unsuccessful in their bid, who have indicated, they were really hoping that it would work out. And I'm talking about PNM people, UNC people, people who claim to be on the fence. Because let's face it, having the refinery operational again would be good for the country. Nobody denies that. And, well, save and except for the few heaters who hope that this situation, this thing would continue to be protracted, that it wouldn't work out because, it will look bad for the PNM. Because we can't get them on the corruption issue, so let us see if we could hold the candle of incompetence to the feet of the PNM. That's what they're about. There are people in the UNC, I read their comments all the time on Facebook. And yet still they love to call themselves patriots, right? Okay. But for those of us who would have read that article would notice that there are a number of things that while Mr. Roger accuses Ministers Khan and Imbut of glossing over certain things, there are a lot of things that weren't mentioned there. The issue of RBC. How and when did RBC come into the picture? Because what we just heard there is that he said from the outset, they came to the table with an offer of 700 million to be funded by Citibank. So if that was an ironclad funding arrangement that you had in place, then my question is, how did RBC come into the picture? If you're saying that the offer of the 13 years was not feasible and you had to go back to the offer of upfront cash, why didn't you just go back to Citibank if, as you said, you had that funding in place when you came to the table in the first instance? I would think that if everything is in place and above board, Citibank would be more than willing to entertain you yet again. So how did we move from Citi to RBC and now we are on to Credit Suisse? Seems Mr. Roger needs to give us some clarification on those issues. Then there is the issue of the original bid of 700 million, and now we are down to 500 million. And I will explain to you shortly how they arrived at this 500 million. Because I've seen so-called men and women of letters writing op-eds in the various newspapers, pontificating and giving their position on the matter. I have seen and I've heard them on being interviewed on the nightly newscast, asking certain questions with respect to this matter. And all one, there's a saying, there are people who listen not to understand, but they listen simply to respond. So you talking to them, and just one thing that you said trip them off, and all of a sudden they zone out. They hear nothing else that you say, and they're just waiting for you to hush so that they could now jump in and say what they have to say. And it seems to me that is the situation here with a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago who would have listened to those two press conferences not to understand what is going on, but simply to respond. So I would have heard Kevin Ramnarine the other night on being interviewed on CNC3, and he's asking the question, well, if the government did their due diligence before to determine if Patriotic could afford, or if they had the financing to purchase the refinery. And how is it that the government didn't know that before? Prasad Bisesa asked the same thing. And I've heard a few other people who, as I said before, men and women of letters, asking the same thing. But again, intellectual laziness is a hell of a thing. All they had to do was to go back to a Hansard, or they didn't even have to go to Hansard. They could have simply Googled the newspaper articles, which would have spoken to the speech that was given by Colman Burt in the Parliament in September of 2019, where he announced that Patriotic's bid had been accepted by the state, where he would have outlined the 10 points, the 10 issues that Mr. Roger alluded to just now that had to be satisfied in order for them to proceed to signing on the dotted line. One of which was that Patriotic was required to demonstrate ability to pay. Because they made a proposal. I am offering you 700 million. But that wasn't all they offered. Eh? Just remember that. It wasn't just 700 million they offered, because they took chain up. The OWTU took chain up from Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC when they would have met with them in November or December of 2018. Remember at that time, let me just back up a little bit. When the government took the decision to restructure Petrotrin, because the UNC keeps talking about Dr. Rowley is a liar. Liar. He said, if you were in your fridge, and in case you didn't hear me the first time, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. As if, and when you listen to these people, every time I hear a UNC supporter talk or post anything on Facebook, all of a sudden I see them with a MAGA hat on their head, Make America Great Again. Because they sound just like Donald Trump supporters. Just like Donald Trump supporters. They're crazy, it's all kind of nonsense. But that's a conversation for another time. Because the issue, the Prime Minister said, we are going to restructure Petrotrin. But when you listen to UNC supporters, from captain to cook, you would swear that that Petrotrin was simply the refinery. Nothing else. That's all Petrotrin used to do. Just refine oil. There was no exploration and production. There was no marketing. No. Those departments didn't exist. The only thing Petrotrin was is the refinery in Pointe-à-Pitre. And the refinery shut down, and that's the end of Petrotrin. So Petrotrin never used to export oil. They didn't used to drill for oil. Never mind the fact that back, they love to talk about this oil boom. Trinidad and Tobago had 2 oil booms under the PNM. And they squandered that oil boom. All the money passed through the country like a dose of salts. Oh, so you all know that once upon a time, Petrotrin just wasn't about refining oil. Once upon a time, it was about exploration, drilling, finding oil, and selling oil. You all remember that back then, to bash the PNM, to talk about oil boom. But now, the only thing you all know about Petrotrin is refinery. All you forget that once upon a time, they used to drill for oil. Okay. But that's the UNC for you. So when the Prime Minister said, the government is not shutting down Petrotrin. Petrotrin as a company was involved in several different activities, of which The refinery was one. The other components like exploration and production and marketing and so on were previously departments, but they have now been formed into companies. So you have Heritage that deals with exploration and production. Heritage, the job or the purpose of Heritage is to continue to drill, find oil, which we sell on the open market, and we get pretty good prices for our crude. Never mind the fact that we have sour crude. And we were told by the UNC, nobody don't want that. Nobody don't want that. But yet still we're getting high prices for it, right? Okay. You have the marketing side of it, and you have the trading side of it, because we didn't only sell refined products to Trinidad and Tobago, but there were other Caribbean countries who used to buy fuels from Petrotrin as well. But again, if you listen to the UNC, it's only one thing Petrotrin used to do, and when the refinery shut down, that was the end of Petrotrin. And we've heard all kind of conspiracy theories as to why Petrotrin was restructured. Let us forget the billions it was losing every year because of the decline in production of oil in Trinidad. Petrotrin had to import oil, something like 100,000 barrels of oil per day, to refine in order to make the fuels, the super and the regular and the diesel and premium and all of these things, kerosene and all of that, to service the markets. And because the amount of oil that they were getting from Trinidad's production was falling, they had no choice but to import. But with the price of oil being what it was then, and us having to import 100,000 plus barrels every day, it meant that what we were paying per barrel and what we were getting in terms of refined fuels per barrel, the difference didn't make sense, because we were losing something like $7 for every barrel of oil that we refined. We were losing $7 based on the output from that oil. But UNC don't want to hear that. No. All they know, Petrotrin was profitable. Petrotrin was making billions of dollars. Petrotrin was bringing in millions and billions of dollars in US. And we had no forex shortage. Everything was good. I used to work in the bank. I started in the bank back in 2001, just out of school. And I can tell you that as far back as then, you had issues and challenges with respect to forex shortages. I know people used to come in the bank, they want to buy forex because they want to send money abroad to pay for their children's schooling and so on. And we had to put them in queues, put them in a line. When we get the money, then we would we would call you and tell you, well, okay, you can come and pay for it as the case may be. And I remember people used to be quarreling with us. What is this? As far back as 2001. And as far as I know, when I left the bank in 2007, the problem was just as bad. In fact, it probably got even worse. So for them to make a situation as this only happened under the PNM administration now. That didn't exist before. Everything, we were living in a veritable utopia. You could get as much US as you wanted. Garbage. I could say that from an empirical standpoint, that is rubbish. But coming back to this, right? Let me remind you. First of all, when the Prime Minister made the announcement that they were going to restructure Petrotrin and that a decision had been taken to shut down the refinery, the first person who suggested that OWTU should take control of the refinery was the Prime Minister, where he announced that by the closure of the refinery, that the government would be going out looking for private capital to take over the management of the refinery, and first option would be given to the OWTU. He said that, and no sooner had the Prime Minister said that, Mr. Roger announced, "Thanks, but no thanks. We're not interested. Our position is do not shut down the refinery. Leave it as is. Continue to hire the people and see what it is you all could do to perhaps reduce this loss that Petrotrin has been suffering since God knows how long." Because again, while the UNC may try to paint a picture that these losses only happened under the PNM and that the refinery could have been saved, that the government spent how many millions of dollars for different reports and different studies from different people, the McKinsey report and this one and that one, and none of the reports said to shut down the refinery. And therefore, the refinery could have been saved. The fact of the matter is, and I have read here on more than one occasion, the statement by Kevin Ramnarine in December of 2014 in the Senate, where he spoke about the dire circumstances in which Petrotrin found itself, where he spoke about the losses that Petrotrin had been suffering as a result of declining margins. Margins, of course, referring to the amount of money that you were making off of each barrel of oil that you refined. And because of a global decline in these margins, Petrotrin was facing the real possibility of shutting down. And he spoke about what it is, Khalid Hassan Ali, who was then president of Petrotrin, some of the strategies that they had employed, similar to what had been employed by two other refineries up the Caribbean. One, I think, was in Aruba, and I think Cayman. I can't remember what the other one was. Where both of them would have employed these strategies in an effort to avoid having to shut down their refineries. And when it did not work, they had no choice. And both refineries were shut down and mothballed. But why they believe that Petrotrin was immune from such a scenario is beyond me. But Kevin Ramnarine again warned in December of 2014 that that was a real possibility if something drastic did not happen. If Petrotrin didn't start to improve its production, if they weren't finding more oil, if they didn't find ways and means to cut costs, and he identified salaries, wages and salaries as being one of the biggest costs that Petrotrin was facing. But he just stopped short of saying that they would need to send people home. Why? Because here it is that we were months before a general election and we can't be talking that talk. How we could do that? You can't do that. You want us to lose the election? So it was, let's just kick the ball down the road, kick the can down the road until the general election, and if we win, we get another 5 years and we'll see what we could do. And if it comes to the point where we have to shut down the refinery, well, so be it. In the second term, we will thief as much as we could, so that if we shut down the refinery and we lose the election in 2020, well, everybody go home nice, your pocket fat, to hell with that. That's the PNM problem to deal with. And that was the position. But again, they don't talk about that. So somewhere after Mr. Roger said to the Prime Minister, thanks, but no thanks, I guess somebody whispered in his ear, hey, hold up, not so fast. We could make this thing work. Let us put forward a proposal. And so that when the government opened proposals, you already recall, prior to the government opening proposals, Mr. Roger then came up with his own proposal, UWTU, in conjunction with a company called Sunstone from Suriname. You all remember that company? And a certain gentleman by the name of Mr. Van Dyke. All of a sudden, when last you all hear about Sunstone? When last you all hear about Mr. Van Dyke? What happened to them? Did they just fade into nothingness? Did they ride out into the sunset? Are they still part of and parcel of patriotic and the bid? Because we've not heard anything or seen Mr. Van Dyke in over a year. And we've not heard his name mentioned or his company mentioned, albeit that in the early stages, his name and that of his company, Sunstone, were quite prominent. But we're not hearing anything about them again. But the government is accused of moving the goalpost. Oh, not OWTU and not patriotic. No. They are squeaky clean. They have done everything above board. They have been purely honest in everything that they have done. They have satisfied every request of the government, and they can't understand why it is we haven't signed on the dotted line. But I just asking questions. In the same way Mr. Roger is asking questions, is Mr. Van Dyke and Sunstone still a part of this matter? Well, let me remind you all. Let me give you a little read here. And this is from 17th of October 2018. The Oilfield Workers Trade Union said during a media briefing on Wednesday that they have approached the board of Petrotrin and government to present a lease-to-own plan for the refinery, which will possibly save the jobs of thousands of workers. OWTU President Ansel Roger said he is confident that the plan, which was produced with the help of international private investment firm Sunstone Equity, can succeed. MAK England, a commodities firm with operations in the UK, the US and the UAE, has also joined the proposal with plans to provide crude oil and managerial expertise for the refinery. So I ask, is MAK England still a part of the patriotic institution? I just ask it. I'm curious because I've not heard anything about them in almost 2 years, or over 2 years as a matter of fact, because this was in October of 2018. We are going to announce a plan that would be for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago based on the research we have done. We would have taken out those experiences, a type of model that we feel confident could succeed. We have come to a place, a very safe and confident place where we are sure once our plan is implemented, the country will benefit. We have responded to the Prime Minister's offer of owning the refinery. Our response to that is not to own it. Let me repeat that. Our response to that is not to own it. Because our philosophy is what belongs to the people must be owned by the people. When did that philosophy change? On the basis of that, we have fashioned our proposal that we are going to put before the board and its chairman. He said the plan is not to own the company, but to enter into a lease arrangement with an option to own at the end of the lease. Now that sounds very similar to what the government offered, 13 years to pay, and at the end of that 13 years, you will own the refinery. I continue. Roger said a letter was sent to Chairman Wilfred Espinay last Wednesday requesting a meeting to present the proposal. Our proposal of a lease will ensure that all of the jobs will continue, those jobs will be saved, and it will be operated in a most efficient way, but consistent with the union's plan of restructuring. Van Dyke, Petrotrin Refinery, a profitable asset. CEO and Managing Director of Sunstone Equity, John Van Dyke, was invited by the union to provide a financial plan that would appeal to the board and the government. Van Dyke said the shutdown of the refinery will affect not just Trinidad and Tobago, but the wider Caribbean, and said the refinery is a valuable asset. He also warned of wider consequences throughout the Caribbean if the refinery was shut down. He said Trinidad and Tobago has the lowest fuel rates in the Caribbean. Lowest fuel rates in the Caribbean, but yet still now you have the UNC bumping the gamma all over the place because they're claiming that the government plans to increase the price of LPG. Notwithstanding that that the government has put out a communique indicating that nothing can be further from the truth, but you know the members of the illiterati, once they latch on to something that tasting good, they run with it. The refinery is very viable. This is John Van Dyke speaking here. We all know what is happening in Guyana. We all know they do not have a refinery. We also know in Suriname, they have a small refinery, but the prospect of discoveries on their coasts is in the realm of 90%. And this would have an impact on the future of your oil industry. He mentioned that the Haitian government, as well as the Barbados government, which imports oil products from Trinidad and Tobago, are also supportive of keeping the refinery open. Van Dyke said the sale of the refinery might only result in a 10 to 30% of its asset value. However, the plan his company proposed should ensure that citizens retain at least 50% of the refinery's value. If you were to purchase a refinery of this nature, it wouldn't be unusual to see in the realms of 10 to 30% of the asset value would be an acceptable start. The model we have put together will ensure that not only will the people receive more than 50% of the asset value, it will also receive all of the taxes from the jobs which are going to be saved. Van Dyke added that the refinery will also ensure the generation of hard currency which is needed at this time. Van Dyke said extensive discussions were held with Morgan Stanley, but unfortunately they have been also hired by another group that is also looking at ravaging your asset. I would like to assure you and the people of Trinidad and Tobago that this is a very viable project and you should not let go of it so easily. So that was the first incarnation of the OWTU's bid for the Petrotrin refinery. So you heard Mr. Roger there. We don't want to own it because it belongs to the people and it should stay in the hands of the people. So we don't want to own it. We just want to lease it and run it, and eventually at the end of that lease period we'll consider owning it. Right? Okay. They then created their proposals and they decided to go around the place, knocking from pillar to post, going by this one, that one, and the next one, to share their proposals, seeking advice and counsel and so on. So they would have given copies to, I believe, the Chambers of Commerce. They gave a copy to the Prime Minister. They gave a copy to the President. And they also gave a copy to the opposition. You all remember that? And they had a meeting with the opposition to present their proposal. I don't know, perhaps they were looking for endorsement. And they went into this meeting with a proposal to purchase the refinery as offered to them by the government, and came out with an intention to bid for not only the refinery, but all of the assets of Petrotrin, all. And this intention was born out of a recommendation by who? A team of UNC members, the executive of the UNC, led by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. So the hypocrisy and the thing is this, that today, Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Kevin Ramnarayan and other members of the UNC are saying this government is incompetent because they should have done their due diligence to determine whether or not OWTU Patriotic had the financial wherewithal to purchase the assets. To purchase the assets of the refinery. But in 2018, same UNC told Roger and the OWTU, before the advent of Patriotic, why you all only want to bid for the refinery? Bid for everything, man. All the assets. The whole shebang. Bid for Paria. Bid for the fields. Everything. And Roger found that palatable. Yes, and they came out salivating. So based on the advice of the opposition, nobody else advised them, that the opposition alone. Did Mrs. Prasad Bisesa ask Mr. Roger then, so where the money coming from? Can you all finance the refinery? On what basis did you advise them to put in a bid for the entire, for all of Petrotrin's assets? On what basis? Were you confident that they had the wherewithal to finance not just the purchase of the refinery, but also all of Petrotrin's assets, hence the reason you made that suggestion? Or is it because you know that was pie in the sky and the government would never go for that, because in the first place, the government did not offer all of the assets of Petrotrin for sale, but only the refinery? So from day one, we know that the UNC attempted to sabotage this whole arrangement, and the OWTU bought that hook, line, and sinker. And they went forward and put in a bid for all of the assets of Petrotrin. So they offered $700 million for the refinery and a further $300 million US for the non-core assets. Let me pull that up here. See, I don't just like to talk thing, I love to read and let people know where I got the information from. Let me get it here. Give me one sec. Right. This is an article dated, September 20th, 2019. This is who? Story by Anna Ramdas, Trinidad Express. OWTU buys Petrotrin refinery with US $700 million bid. Sold to the Oilfield Workers Trade Union for US $700 million. A company wholly owned by the OWTU has been selected as the preferred bidder of the state-owned Petrotrin refinery. Finance Minister Colm Imbert announced yesterday that Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited, which is OWTU owned, was Cabinet's choice with the upfront consideration of a US $700 million bid for what is now called the Guaracara Refining Company Limited. Petrotrin, Trinidad and Tobago's largest crude oil producer, and this is Mr. Imbert's statement. I want you all to listen to this carefully. Petrotrin, Trinidad and Tobago's largest crude oil producer, operating the country's only petroleum refinery, ceased refinery operations on November 30th, 2018. The refinery was plagued with high and increasing debt, low productivity levels, escalating manpower costs, and an expenditure pattern of habitually surpassing its earnings and income. The refinery lost billions of dollars every year. Following the closure of the company, Cabinet agreed to the establishment of a new state enterprise, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited. TPHL was vested with the responsibility to manage the former Petrotrin's oil and related assets, which, in turn, now fall under the management of 4 subsidiaries. 1. Heritage Petroleum Company Limited, the new exploration and production company. 2. Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited. 3. Legacy Petrotrin manages all legacy items of the former Petrotrin. So for all those UNC supporters who jump on the conspiracy bandwagon that the reason why they shut down the refinery was to cover up the AV drilling matter, and they still pushing that head. Legacy Petrotrin manages all legacy items of the former Petrotrin. You know what that means? It means that all of the files pertaining to that audit, that with respect to the fake oil, as Kamala called it, all the files are still there. The departments are still there. So if the police need to go and dig up and they need to get their hands on documents and they need to interview, well, I'm sure they could interview people if they want to, because there would be contacts for these people. Everything is still there. So shutting down the refinery would not have achieved anything close to what you all are insinuating, that it was to cover up the AV drilling matter to protect the Prime Minister's best friend, Mr. Bash. Never mind the fact that you all like to call Dr. Rowley a racist. But it's convenient, when it's convenient, his best friend is someone of East Indian descent. And when it's convenient, he's a racist. So sometimes he likes people of East Indian descent and sometimes he doesn't. It depends on what narrative the UNC want to spin. So one day he's a racist and the next day he's not. He opened a joint bank account in Miami, according to Munilal, with a man of East Indian descent, Vidya Dioki Singh, right? But he's a racist. So it depends on what day of the week it is and what narrative they want to spin. He's a racist one day and he's not another day. But I continue. Guaracara Refining Company Limited was established to replace what was known as Petrotrin's Pointe-a-Pierre refinery. Upon the closure of Petrotrin refinery, the government indicated its intention to offer for sale or lease the refinery and associated fuel trading facilities where applicable. The bidding process was divided into two stages. Please listen carefully. With stage 1 of the bidding process attracting 77 expressions of interest. Of this 77 potential bidders, 25 elected to sign non-disclosure agreements, which allowed them to access a virtual data room containing highly confidential information on the assets and on the overall process. Further, of the 25 potential buyers who signed non-disclosure agreements, only 8 proceeded to submit non-binding offers. During stage 1, the following criteria were utilized to evaluate the bona fides of each of the 8 remaining bidders. 1. Proposal contemplates a restart of the refinery. 2. Potential buyer or lessee possesses refining and marketing experience or has reasonable prospects of attracting a partner with such experience. 3. Proposed purchase price and or lease terms are potentially attractive. And 4. Potential buyer or lessee has demonstrated that they possess the financial capability to fund the proposed purchase price or lease payments and the capital expenditure required to restart the refinery. Let me repeat that last one. Potential buyer or lessee, and hear this, potential buyer or lessee, you can buy it through an upfront payment of cash or you could lease it over a period of time. Potential buyer or lessee has demonstrated that they possess the financial capability to fund the proposed purchase price or lease payments and the capital expenditure required to restart the refinery. So in other words, you need to convince the government of Trinidad and Tobago that 1, you have the money to purchase or lease the refinery, and 2, you have the money to restart, to rehabilitate the assets and to restart the refinery. You have the money to be able to import oil because Petrotrin Heritage will not be selling you any oil. That oil is to be sold on behalf of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago so that to present revenue for the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We will not be selling that to you, so understand you need to find your own oil. All right? And that is a cost. After evaluation, a short list of 5 bidders was prepared as follows. 1. Beowulf Energy. 2. Glencore Limited. 3. Edgewood Holdings. 4. Klesh. 5. Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited. Subsequently, in June of 2019, Cabinet agreed to the appointment of an evaluation committee of senior public servants and industry professionals with a mandate to make a recommendation to Cabinet on the undermentioned. 1. Select a preferred bidder. 2. negotiate and finalize a binding offer. 3. Negotiate and execute a definitive agreement for lease or sale. 4. Initiate negotiations of critical commercial agreements. And 5. Negotiate any government incentives and conduct environmental audits. At the close of bids on August 20th, 2019, 3 bidders submitted compliant binding offers for the purchase or lease of the refinery. And I need to continue to stress on purchase or lease. And I'll come to that just now. Namely, 1. Beowulf Energy, 2. Klesh, and 3. Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited. The evaluation committee comparatively reviewed all 3 proposals on 12 specially selected criteria ranging from financial capability, upfront consideration, history of refining and marketing experience, refinery restart time, proposed crude slate, exclusivity period, lease sale arrangements, SPA comments, union involvement, social and economic aspects, bidders' equity, and approximate time for the start of preparation for the ultra-low sulfur diesel plant. 1. Upfront cash consideration. In terms of an upfront cash consideration, Patriotic was the only bidder which offered an upfront payment consideration. Their proposal indicated upfront cash of US $700 million for the refinery assets, plus US $300 million for the non-core assets of legacy Petrotrin. For instance, the hospital. However, the non-core assets were not offered for sale by the government. Beowulf offered no upfront consideration, but instead proposed a lease payment of US $42,000 per month over a 15-year initial term, and a future 50-50 profit sharing contingent upon Beowulf recovering its capital and achieving a 15% internal rate of return. Klesh's proposal indicated that the only payments they would be making to the government of Trinidad and Tobago would be through taxes. Sale purchase agreement. Patriotic submitted a reasonable markup of the sale purchase agreement, as did Beowulf. Klesh did not submit any draft agreements. Union involvement. Patriotic has as its sole shareholder the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. Beowulf advised that they will comply with existing local labor laws. Klesh indicated that they currently operate in a unionized environment at the Hyde refinery and have no objection to workers being unionized. Now it says here Patriotic has as its sole shareholder the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. So I'm asking the question, right? What happened to Sunstone and Mr. Van Dyke? When did they fall off the track? What happened to Mac England? Are they still a part of the process? Are they because these were the first people with whom Patriotic OWTU would have consulted to come up with their proposal. Where are these folks today? Is it that they bailed on OWTU and therefore the OWTU Patriotic had to now go and find new people, new shareholders, new financiers? I'm just asking. So perhaps the next time that Mr. Roger has a press conference, he could perhaps address that. I have no issue. I personally would love for Patriotic to get the refinery, because for me, it appeals to me the idea of the workers owning the refinery, right? A union actually owning something of such significance in this country. But I continue. Patriotic proposed the introduction of staff incentives through a performance-based framework. They also committed to improving the work culture. Beowulf highlighted direct job creation and proposed to incentivize staff through profit sharing. Klesh also highlighted direct and indirect job creation and their indirect impact on the economy through the payment of taxes. Bidders' equity. Patriotic indicated its intention to secure an equity and debt provider. This transaction would be through asset-based financing. Asset-based financing. Okay, where are the assets coming from? Beowulf proposed to use its own finances to fund the due diligence exercise and indicated that another entity was willing to provide debt financing. Klesh signaled its intention to utilize its own finances to fund the due diligence exercise. After reviewing all the facts as presented, Cabinet today agreed: 1. To select Patriotic Energies and Technologies Limited a company wholly owned by the OWTU, as the preferred bidder for the sale of the Guaracara Refining Company Limited and Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited on the following terms and conditions. A. Patriotic will be given 1 month to present the evaluation committee with a satisfactory and comprehensive work plan on how it intends to complete the process going forward with respect to the following key deliverables. 1. Confirmation of its ability to finance the purchase and operation of the refinery. And let me just pause there a sec. Because the government last week announced that they will be giving Patriotic a further 15 days. 15 days to come with something substantial from Credit Suisse, which is the latest name that we hear thrown into the mix by Patriotic. Because in that same press conference, Mr. Roger sought to defend RBC, who, as the minister would have informed us, could not give a binding document to state, yes, we are going to finance this venture. Right? Mr. Roger's argument is that, well, you can't expect RBC to do that now. They need 8-9 months in order to do their due diligence. They need to go and check on to make sure the assets of the refinery are still good and put a valuation on that and so on before we could make an agreement. So if the government says we'll give you a further 8-9 months, and then at the end of that period of time, RBC decides, well, look, we were not interested. That's 8 or 9 months wasted. 8 or 9 months of further deterioration of the assets. So that whoever comes after that, if it is that OWTU is unable to raise this financing and the government then has to go back out on the market, they now have to contend with this issue. So all of a sudden, RBC has now been thrown out of the picture, and we hear about Credit Suisse. And they have 15 days to present a letter from Credit Suisse. All the government wants is a letter from Credit Suisse saying, yes, we are going to fund this endeavor. That's all. 15 days. And people complaining about that. I heard Mr. Nirvan Maharaj of the NSA complaining about 15 days, and that is too short a time, and so on. And that shows that the government is not genuine, because how we could only give them 15 days. But Mr. Roger said that they have interest from Credit Suisse. They have had discussion. Now, here's my question with that. When did these discussions with Credit Suisse take place? Was the government informed prior to the press conference last week that you all had discussions with Credit Suisse, and Credit Suisse had indicated a desire to fund? I just asking. One sec. Yes, folks. Just clearing up a little issue there, because we're supposed to be in the ad set right now. Right. So I was making the issue of the Credit Suisse, which is the supposedly the latest financier for the OWTU, Patriotic. Right. So the government has said, based on your revelation, the revelation of Mr. Roger at the press conference, that they have interest from Credit Suisse to provide the $500 million that they need to purchase the refinery up front, the government will give them another 15 days. So I'm asking the question, when did this discussion take place with Credit Suisse? Because the only thing we heard about was RBC. We heard Mr. Roger trying to make a case for RBC to be given 8 to 9 months for them to do their due diligence and whatever else they need to do to come to a decision with respect to providing this financing. But why are you making a case for RBC and for the government to be lenient and give RBC 8 to 9 months if it is Credit Suisse is willing to fund immediately? I'm confused. All right, so we go to the ads, and we will be right back. This one.
Hey guys, it's Aisha Wells here. Listen up. If you're considering selling or renting your house in Trinidad and Tobago, then call Keelan George with O'Neill's Real Estate Group. He's a good friend of mine and he's been in the business for over 6 years. First, selling real estate in Atlanta, Georgia, and now right here in Trinidad and Tobago. He has a strategic online marketing presence that actually attracts thousands of home buyers and renters. Plus, with his home selling advice and techniques, he's getting homes sold really fast. Keelan will actually guarantee you sell your home, or get this, you can cancel the listing agreement and pay nothing at any time. That's right, you heard me, nothing at any time. Selling your home doesn't have to be stressful, people. Check out www.o'neillrealestatetT.com. O'Neill is spelled O-N-E-I-L, or just call Keelan direct at 363-4030. That's 363-4030.
Royal Castle happily presents our New Year giveaway. When you buy a family meal, you could be in to win some happiness. A kitchen appliance combo of a new stove, fridge, and microwave. Whoa! A living room set, a washer-dryer combo, or a dining room set. Other goodies include Samsung Smart TVs, grocery vouchers, or one of 20 tablets. Just write your info on your bill and slip it into the entry box in store. It's easy to win with our New Year giveaway.
Yo, this is a Big Mike, not the mass man, the health man. Are you one of the 40 million people suffering with joint issues like rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis? Well, you are listening to the right ad. You have the ailment, we have the remedy. Call us now on 288-8301 or 346-2612.
Don't forget to tune in right here on the street 919 FM every Wednesday from 10:05 a.m.
Performance, Beatles Talk.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying locked to the Street 919 FM. Good, right? Oh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, folks. So we're back. Right. So I was making the issue and asking the question: if it is that Credit Suisse is so ironclad, and we expect the government would have made a decision to grant a 15-day extension based on Mr. Roger's announcement at the press conference that they have interest from Credit Suisse to fund the 500 million, and I'm going to come to this 500 million shortly. How we went from 700 to 500 million. What's that all about? Why are we still making a case for RBC? But anyway, I go back. After reviewing all the facts as presented, Cabinet today agreed to select Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited. 1. Patriotic will be given 1 month to present the evaluation committee with a satisfactory and comprehensive work plan on how it intends to complete the process going forward with respect to the following deliverables. 1. Confirmation of its ability to finance the purchase and operation of the refinery. 2. A draft sales purchase agreement and various other commercial agreements inclusive of crude handling, domestic fuel supply, natural gas supply, product offtake, and transport support, or transition support rather. 3. A finalized business plan that addresses other key deliverables inclusive of the provision of a guaranteed, reliable, and seamless supply of refined petroleum products to Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region, ensuring the long-term viability of the refinery and reducing its carbon footprint. 4. a statement of any fiscal incentives or tax concessions required from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. 5. An approach to any historical environmental liabilities. 6. A refinery startup plan which involves any necessary additional work, inclusive of the refinery refurbishment plan and the terminal startup plan. 7. A plan for the supply of petroleum products during the transition to full operationalization by Patriotic of the refinery, inclusive of the finalization of an MOU with Trafigura Pte. Limited. 8. A suitable staffing plan inclusive of senior management. 9. Proof of qualification to engender the startup and performance enhancement processes for the new business, as well as the evaluation of growth opportunities to deliver solutions that integrate information, analytics, and insight to solve client challenges at all points along the energy value chain. And 10. Approval from the Board of Directors of Patriotic for the definitive terms and conditions of the proposed transaction. Now, these are 10 conditions that Patriotic had to satisfy. 10 conditions that they were given 1 month. 1 month to prepare and satisfy the government. 10. The government has given them 15 days to satisfy 1. A guaranteed MOU or something, some written guarantee from Credit Suisse or whoever stating that they are prepared to give you the $500 million US for the upfront purchase of the refinery. That's all. And all Tom, Dick, Harry, Jenny, and Jane complaining that 15 days is not enough time to get this one thing. But nobody complained. 30 days, 1 month, to get 10 items that I just listed out for you, some of which have sounded very technical. So 30 days, 1 month was fine for 10 technical items, but 15 days is too much time to it's too short a time for Patriotic to simply, if you said you are in discussions with Credit Suisse, we assume that it is advanced discussions because based on how Mr. Roger would have characterized the interest of Credit Suisse in that press conference is that they are very interested. So we imagine that these talks would have been ongoing for some time prior to the press conference that was held by the Ministers of Energy and Finance to announce that Patriotic had failed in that bid. How long has this discussion been going on? What would have prompted that? Because I don't think that you would have listened to the press conference of the two ministers, and when they rejected the offer, you pick up the phone and call Credit Suisse and say, hey, we need 500 million, and Credit Suisse say, yeah, no problem. And then you held a press conference a few hours later and said, or a day later, and said, Credit Suisse has expressed interest. Because Credit Suisse obviously would have had to see the documents, the proposal, and to study it and so on. So it behoves me to understand how RBC would need 8 to 9 months to make a decision to lend you all 500 million. And Credit Suisse is ready to make that decision in, well, as I said, I don't know how long you've been having this discussion with Credit Suisse, but it must have been a while, because is it that they don't need 8 or 9 months? Why does RBC need 8 or 9 months? And I ask the question, how in-depth has been these discussions with Credit Suisse that they have expressed a willingness and an interest to fund without seeing the assets, without conducting any due diligence? Have they sent people to Trinidad to do a walkthrough of the refinery? I don't know. I just asking, but I'm saying, I sincerely hope that we're not going to find ourselves in another situation 15 days or how many days left from now where another press conference is going to be called to say that Patriotic again failed to provide the government with anything substantial in terms of a financier for the upfront purchase. And then we have another round of begging. And I think the Prime Minister genuinely has a soft spot for Patriotic, primarily because of the amount of money that Mr. Roger keeps mentioning they spent. And it would be unfortunate that they would have spent all of this money that could have been used for the benefit of the membership to try and get the refinery, only to be shut out because the government is not obligated to refund them any of that money. They had an obligation of their own to ensure that their offer was ironclad with the financing. But I want to come shortly, in the interest of time, as to who shot themselves in the foot with respect to this upfront payment versus the 13-year agreement. But let me just finish this. Patriotic will be granted a 3-year moratorium on all payments of principal and interest towards the purchase of the refinery and a further 10 years at a fair market interest rate to complete the payment of the sum of US $700 million it has offered for the refinery. The evaluation committee will be reconstituted as follows, with a mandate to submit its findings and recommendations to the cabinet on the aforementioned issues within 6 weeks. The evaluation committee comprises, and here are the names of these people. Here are the names. There's one name in particular that is of great interest to me. Mr. Vishnu Danpal, Chairman, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance. Mr. Selwyn Lashley, Energy Strategic Advisor, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. Mr. Anthony Chantak, Director, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited. Mr. Shahid Hossain, Chairman, Trinidad and Tobago National Petroleum Marketing Limited. Ms. Sandra Fraser, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. Mr. Ian Welch, Chemical Engineer. Mr. Welch, as some of us would know, was once the, I think, the president or CEO of, I believe it was Nutrien. I can't remember what was the name before that. It slips me at the moment. So this is not no lightweight team evaluating these proposals here. These are people who are career professionals in the energy industry. But I continue. Mr. Joseph Remy, trade unionist, a long-standing colleague of Mr. Roger, a fellow trade union leader. Mr. Remy, the former head of the Communication Workers Union. He too sits on this committee, this 12-man committee evaluating the proposals of Patriotic. So I would think that if it is that the committee and the government were trying to hoodwink the union, Mr. Remy would not stand for it, being a career trade unionist, that he would step down in defense of his colleagues, in defense of that institution, in defense of that industry to which he has dedicated so many years of his life. I don't think he would stand or sit on a committee that he has reason to believe is being less than forthright, less than genuine, and is trying to sabotage the trade union movement, while some people are saying that the government is simply trying to engage in union busting. No, I would hate to think that Mr. Remy would sell out his colleagues. So the fact that he, Mr. Remy, sits on this committee says to me that in and of itself gives it credibility. But hey, who am I? I continue. Mr. Dale McLeod, Insurance Executive, my former manager. Mr. Terence Barrett, Attorney at Law, and Ms. Arlene Chow, Interim CEO, Heritage Petroleum Company. Right? So that's the team there. So that is the team that would have been put together to evaluate the proposals, not just Patriotic, but Klesch and Beowulf as well. Let me see if I get this other thing here. Where is it? So after much toing and froing and so on, in October last year, Minister Franklin Can would have announced that despite best efforts, Patriotic was not successful. Just give me 1 second here. Let me find this. No. All right. Let me just. October. Right. Now, when the press conference was held in October last year, Minister Khan said, in giving the reasons why Patriotic's bid failed, he identified 3 main reasons, which to my mind has been overlooked. And for me, puts this whole situation into context. Just 3. It's very instrumental and very informative, I think. And let me see if I just find what this was here. So I would have pointed out to you all that Patriotic had made a bid of $700 million US for the refinery to purchase it up front, $300 million US to purchase the non-core assets. So they made a bid initially of $1 billion US dollars, or roughly 6.7 or 6.8 billion TT dollars. Mr. Khan said, from the onset, this was and has been a very complex negotiation because we were attempting to sell a complex asset involving the sale of a multi-billion-dollar state asset. As such, due diligence by the state was paramount in this exercise, and these discussions are subjected to non-disclosure agreements, so both parties are bound to keep those agreements. He said some of the issues in the negotiations related to a detailed inspection of the refinery, startup criteria, and so on. Right, here it is. However, after prolonged negotiations, the three key issues at the end turned out to be 1, the purchase price financing, 2, restart financing, and 3, issue of first priority lien on the assets. So let's discuss that, which is the main thing I wanted to come to, right? The first issue is the purchase financing price. So we understand, we know Patriotic made a bid of $700 million for the assets, the refinery assets, which I believe included the assets of Paria. Now, there was a little issue with respect to the purchase of Paria when it was announced, because there were those who said that Paria was never a part of the deal, and at one point in time, the Minister of Energy did say that Paria was not on the table. And subsequent to that, we were told that Paria was on the table. And it made sense. Because whoever is operating the refinery, remember, fuel is going to be, they're going to be refining fuel every day, 24/7. The refinery is not an entity where you come in the morning 10 to 8 and you press a button and you start the refinery, and then 4 o'clock in the evening you press a button and you shut it down until 10 to 8 the next morning. It doesn't work that way, right? So this thing has to be constant, so that they would be producing refined fuel, on a 24/7. But however, we need to understand that while this fuel is being produced, it is not being sold every day. Not everything that you produce in a day is going to be sold. So you need somewhere to store the excess until there is demand for it, both local and regional. The assets to store this excess fuel that would be produced on a daily basis now belongs to Paria, because Paria is using those assets which were previously used by the operators of the refinery to store the imported fuel until it is needed on the local markets, until we can export to whatever other Caribbean countries that we export to now, because we're not just importing for Trinidad and Tobago's use. Some of the other Caribbean countries who used to purchase fuel from Petrotrin, we now import and we sell to them. So that when the fuel comes, and they come in these vessels, they have to be offloaded and stored somewhere, because it's not like you have a whole set of tankers lined up by the down at Paria's port waiting to be fueled. So the fuel will of course go into the storage tanks, and it would be distributed as needed. So whoever gets the refinery will need these assets to store this fuel, and therefore what is going to happen is that once the refinery starts up, that is why the government is insistent that Patriotic or whoever it is gets the refinery must be able to guarantee fuel security. That is the key thing here. Because once the refinery is back up and running, and the assets of Paria are given to the operators of the refinery to store their fuel, the government will no longer be in a position to import fuel, because these storage tanks would be used by the operators of the refinery. And therefore it is imperative that the government ensures that this is an ironclad deal and that fuel security is guaranteed. Because if it is the operators of the refinery fail for whatever reason and there is a shortage of fuel, there will be no end of costs for the government. Not just the cost alone, because remember, it is going to have an impact on the country, that you can't get fuel. And then we will start to hear about Venezuela. That's how it started in Venezuela, blah, blah, blah. No fuel. It already started. Because you hear the UNC illiterati pontificating that is only a matter of time before Trinidad and Tobago comes like Venezuela. And every now and then they put up something on social media to talk, well, this is how it started in Venezuela with this. And this is how it started with that. Only calling bad on the country. But anyway, so the government is making the point. We need to ensure fuel security. Because once we stop importing and we are depending solely on the refinery as we used to before. We need to make sure that this is a seamless process. Hence the reason the offer would have been made to Patriotic. Here's what: instead of paying us $700 million US up front, instead of saddling yourself with that type of debt from the outset, we are willing to make you an offer because we want this thing to work seamlessly. What we don't want is that you borrow $700 million US to pay us up front. Great, we're happy. We take it and we could pay off the bond. And then you go and you borrow another $500 million US in order to rehabilitate the assets and and start the refinery. So you start off with $1.2 billion US of debt on your books. And if it is your operations is such that you are saddled with this having to make this monthly payment to repay this debt, and your cash flow is impaired because of you having to pay this debt, and you find you don't have money on hand to purchase the oil that you need every day to refine, so you end up coming up short and you don't have fuel to sell to the local markets, or because of having to service this hefty debt of $1.2 billion US from the very outset, you don't have cash to pay your workers, so every Monday morning is a protest and the workers want to down tools and they're not working because they're not getting paid, and all of these things that could happen to hamper your ability to guarantee a supply of fuel to the market is problems for the government. So we need to create an environment in which you could ensure that everything is working smoothly, seamlessly, that you have money coming in, that you are able to purchase your oil on a monthly basis or daily or however it is you're going to get it, because the government was doing this before and they would know the challenges that they would have been experiencing. And we don't want you to experience that, because Petrotrin was saddled with this $850 billion by the $750 million US debt, these bonds that had to be repaid, that was taken for the World GTL plant and so on, which is something we'll discuss on another day. But we don't want you to have those problems. So here's what: pay us over a 10-year period, but we're giving you a 3-year moratorium, right? In that 3 years, it is going to give us an opportunity to observe how you're operating. It's going to give you sufficient time to make sure that the refinery is back up and running properly. It's going to give you an opportunity to build your cash reserves, to build a healthy bank account so that you have reserves there, so that when it is you start to pay us, you don't have to worry that the payments are a drain on your finances and you can't meet your other commitments that could impact on your ability again to run the refinery properly. It makes sense. Instead of you going and borrow $700 million, we give you 3 years, build up some cash, and then when you start to pay us over this 10-year period, if things are running smoothly, and perhaps you might choose to engage in other economic activities that could generate further income. Maybe you might decide to purchase a gas station or two, which is bringing in income for you. Or maybe you might decide you want to offer an IPO, an initial public offering, so that the general public could buy shares in your company and you raise more money, so that when you start to pay us back. Okay, we have a little construction taking place. Forgive us. So that at the end of that 3 years, your financial position should be good and you should be able to pay your debt comfortably. But you can pay it from revenue and not have to pay it from going to borrow. So if you're making enough money on a monthly basis to be able to pay back this debt and to service all of your other financial commitments, that's the best way to do it. Rather than going to have to take a loan for $700 million at a high interest rate and it's taking a toll on you. I heard no complaints from the OWTU with respect to that, because it meant now they only needed to go and borrow $500 million US in order to fund the restart of the refinery. Simple. And they indicated they had a company that was willing to do that, which is Trafigura. Trafigura was supposed to provide them with the $500 million to fund the restart of the refinery, but also to assist them in getting the oil that they would need to refine, to produce the fuel. But coming back to the issue, so 13 years to pay this debt. 3 years, no principal, no interest, and then you have 10 years in which to pay. Now that's a sweetheart deal. Now there's the issue we've been hearing about, this lien on the assets of Petrotrin. And Mr. Roger would have spoken to that in the article I read earlier, where he's saying that is the bugbear in the whole negotiations. So let me see if I could just give a quick explanation of my understanding of it. Is that the government was faced with a situation where they had to make this bullet payment of the $850 million US and the $700 million US that was borrowed to fund the World GTL plant, right? And not having that money on hand, because remember the last government, the PP, from 2010 to 2015, left the exchequer account $33 billion in permanent deficit, despite having the highest energy revenues in this country's history. $33 billion that this government has been struggling to bring down since 2015, right? So they just don't have the money. The oil prices that were enjoyed and the gas prices that were enjoyed between 2010 and 2015 are a thing of the past. This government has not had that benefit, right? So they've had to borrow, they've had to beg, they've had to cut and contrive in order to make whatever money they have work, right? I see the ads coming up. Right. So the assets of Petrotrin, the refinery, and Paria would have been used as collateral to refinance these bonds, right? So the companies that would have refinanced these bonds now are holding these assets as collateral for these bonds. It appears that Trafigura, who is financing the $500 million to restart the refinery based on what Franklin Kahn said, they want to get first lien on the assets. But they cannot get first lien on the assets because another company already has first lien on those assets. This is a company that would have loaned the money or refinanced the bonds for the government. The only way that lien can come off is if that debt is repaid. Therein, the government will no longer have a liability to these financiers. The financiers would have to release their hold on the assets because they would have been repaid. And the government then now is free to engage somebody else to put a lien on it. So the government is saying, look, we don't have the money right now to pay off those bonds. So we are proposing that we will give you the 13 years to pay, and you pay us over that 13-year period, and the money that we collect from you over the course of that 13-year period, we would use some of that or perhaps all of it to service the debt to pay off these bonds. At the end of that 13-year period, when the loan has been paid off, the bonds have been repaid, and the lien is taken off, then we would be happy to sign over legal title of the assets to you because you would have paid for it based on that agreement. Now, that arrangement works for the government, and it should work for you, OWTU, patriotic, because it means you don't have to go and borrow $700 million now. You have 13 years to find that money, and it gives us time now to pay the debt, and it's a workable solution to everybody. But the ads are upon us. Stay locked. We'll be right back.
Cause you are my everything, and I'm gonna do anything. Go put that on everything, oh, for you. If I give you all my love, and would you treasure? Would you cherish it and never let me go? Cause you're not gonna find someone to love you better, oh. If I want to never certain, I want to, you. Make I go love you, Jaja. Make I go love you tender, 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 tender. Make I go love you tender, tender, tender. Make I go love you tender, tender, oh, tender, oh. My love the eternal, eternally, eternally, eternally. I love you for eternity. Oh, my love the eternal, eternally, eternally, eternally. I love you for eternity. I'll swim the deepest ocean to show my devotion, yeah. You know, see me open like a window, my love. I go You know, say me feel you. Baby, that body, they good, oh. Nah, nah. If I give you all my love, you know, would you treasure? Would you cherish it and never let me go? Cause you're not gonna find someone to love you better. If I want to never certain, I want to. Make I go love you, Jaja. Make I go love you, tender. Make I go love you, Jaja. Make I go love you, tender, oh, tender, oh. My love, they eternally. I love you for eternity. Oh, my love, they eternally. I love you for eternity. You give me plenty love. You give me plenty love.
Enagic change your water, change your life. Enagic water purifier, one machine, 5 types of water. Enagic makes strong Kangen water with an 11.5 pH. Kangen water with 8.5 to 9.5 pH, healthy drinking and cooking water. Clean water with 7.0 pH. Beauty water for skin, hair, and plants with a 6.0 pH. Strong acid water with a 2.5 pH. This water is known to disinfect, kill viruses and bacteria. Listen to the Street 919 FM with Pastor Alkaline John every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to noon and every Wednesday from 8:05 p.m. to 9 p.m. as he talks to you weekly about how to improve your quality of life through purifying and drinking water. For more information, call or WhatsApp Pastor John at 516-286-7079.
At Health and Wealth Lifestyle, we offer a wide range of services: blood analysis, iridology, acupuncture, foot detox, foot massages, gua sha, hot stone therapy, fire therapy, legs and feet massage therapy, mineral scrubs, acrotherapy, cupping.
We also have a wide variety of supplements: silver, zinc and magnesium, body light, and lots more.
We at Health and Wealth Lifestyle operate our business in a clean, safe, and comfortable environment. We frequently sanitize our compound and abide by all the COVID guidelines that are currently in place.
So come on down to Health and Wealth Lifestyle, where we treat you like family. Book your appointment today. Call us at 1-868-275-8359
or 1-868-288-1108.
And remember, your health is your wealth, and prevention is always better than medication.
Hi there, I'm Lester Suglal, inviting you to join me on the first, second, and third Saturday, 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the program Slow Gospel Music, and on the fourth and fifth Saturday from 8:30 p.m. for an extended version of Slow Gospel Music on Street 91.9 FM.
Share the line. Share the line. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the line. Iwer George on Instagram. Share the line. Iwer TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the line. The Street 919 FM.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying locked to the Street 919 FM as we make our way to the 12 o'clock hour. So let me see how much I can cover in the next 25 minutes or so. Right, so before we went to the break, I was making the point. The three sticking issues, according to Franklin Kahn: purchase price financing, restart financing, and the issue of first priority lien on the assets. So with the issue of the purchase price financing, as I would have told you just now, an offer would have been made to Patriotic. Instead of paying $700 million upfront, US upfront, you could pay this over 13 years. And it seemed for a time that that was an acceptable offer to Patriotic. Now we hear 500 million being offered up front as opposed to the 700 million. And Patriotic is now struggling to find this 500 million because we heard RBC, now we're hearing Credit Suisse. So we wait to see if in the next few days what will become of that. But how did we arrive at this 500 million from 700 million? It is a question that I've heard a lot of people asking. I've seen some answers that, are just so far-fetched. And the answer, if these persons would have listened to the press conference that was held by Franklin Kahn and Colm Imbert, you would have understood how they arrived at that. Because Mr. Imbert sought to explain it. Problem was that he used some technical financial terms that might have gone over the head of some people. And if you're not into finance and having not studied finance, you may not have understood. Where he spoke about that Patriotic and their financiers would have done some time value of money calculations to arrive at the 500 million, which the government would have accepted. Essentially, what they are saying is that Patriotic and their financiers would have considered the government's offer of paying the 700 million plus interest over a 13-year period. But 700 million in 2033 is worth less in terms of its purchasing power than 700 million in 2020. So by using actuarial tables, using certain inflation rate projections and so on, they would have come up with a calculation that would have said, well, if we pay you this money over 13 years, this 700 million at a particular rate of interest, that in 2033, what you could buy with 700 million plus whatever interest would be equivalent to what 500 million US could buy today. So really, if we take up your offer and we pay you that, we would be really paying you 500 million in 2020 value in 2033. So we are offering to pay you the present value of that 700 million plus interest in 2033 in 2020. So 500 million US in 2020 would be worth the same as 700 million plus whatever interest in 2033. And if you're saying to us you're prepared to accept 700 million plus interest in 2033, then we are offering you the present value, the 2020 value of that money. So that is how they arrived at the 500 million. But Mr. Imbert didn't go into detail in terms of the explanation. And he would have just mentioned time value of money. And the government accepted that. It makes sense. And when they look at the purchasing power of the two sums over a period of time, it's a common thing in finance. And those persons who are involved in finance would understand. So that's how it went from 700 million to 500 million. So that's the first thing. So essentially what that means is Patriotic has rejected the government's offer to pay the 700 million US over 13 years. I suppose perhaps when they sat down with their financiers, somebody probably say, well, here's what. If we take this offer, as good as it may sound, because it means we don't have to go and borrow 700 million US now, and we could also pay it off, as I said before, from income rather than having to pay a set of interest on a loan, what we would eventually end up paying would be more than what the assets would be valued at that point in time. So if we think that the assets are valued at 700 million today, if we think that that's what they're worth, and we end up with paying 900 million or $1 billion US dollars over a 13-year period, it means that when that time comes, we would have paid all this money and the assets certainly would not be worth that. So let's just borrow 500 million US now. If the government is willing to accept it, we pay them that. We save 200 million having to borrow, which is roughly 1.4 billion TT. So we don't have to pay any interest on that. We don't have to borrow that money. Or if we do, we could use that to assist in the rehabilitation of the refinery. So that is how they arrived at this 500 million. So that's the first thing. So you heard what Mr. Roger would have said. Let me just repeat it. Roger said Patriotic's proposal was backed by banking group Citi, to raise US $700 million, but the government placed a counter offer on the table which derailed Patriotic's bid. Now, to me, that doesn't really make sense, because in the same way that you have now rejected that offer, you could have rejected it back in 2019. You could have rejected it back early on in 2020. So to come now and tell us that it was that offer which many would have considered a sweetheart deal, which is what the leader of the opposition called it, and others, a sweetheart deal. At that time, you could have rejected it then, the same way you've rejected it now. So to me, that's a weak statement by Mr. Roger to claim that is what put a spoke in the wheel. Now, why did it become necessary for them to offer this $500 million? So as I said before, Mr. Khan would have indicated that one of the three sticking points was the issue of first lien. So, as I said before, it appears Trafigura wants some kind of collateral for the $500 million. The OWTU doesn't have any assets worth $500 million. The only asset in play that is worth at least $500 million US are the assets of the refinery. But the OWTU cannot give Trafigura first lien on that because they don't own it. The government owns it. And the government would have put these assets up as collateral to refinance the bonds. So first lien right now belongs to whoever is the company that would have financed the refinance of those bonds. The only way that lien can come off is if the government pays off that loan. The government had intended to pay off that loan over the period that Patriotic would have paid them over those 13 years. But Patriotic is saying, we are prepared now to offer you $500 million. Why? Because we need the lien to come off so that we can assign the assets to Trafigura, so that Trafigura will give us the $500 million to restart the refinery. So, based on a question that was put to Mr. Imbert by one of the reporters, he said that in order to take the lien off of the assets, the government would need to pay off at least 75% of the outstanding balance on these loans. And he identified that the $500 million would be able to satisfy that requirement. So hence, Patriotic now finds itself in a situation where, in order to satisfy the request for first lien by Trafigura, they need to get assets to pledge to Trafigura. If Trafigura were not requesting this first lien option, then it would be perfectly okay for OWTU to go ahead with the government's offer of 13 years, and they would have, and this issue of this $500 million US that they're struggling to find now would not be an issue. But they have to get it in order to release the lien so that Trafigura can now take hold of the assets and lend them the $500 million. So we see, unless and until it appears Patriotic can find this $500 million to give to the government in order to get control of the assets, then the $500 million that is supposed to get from Trafigura is also up in the air, because Trafigura wants collateral. So the lien has to come off. But the government is not prepared to take the citizens' money to pay off the bond. And in fact, the government doesn't have that money right now to pay off that bond, to accede to the request of Patriotic. As they have said, the government is not going to inject any or invest any of the citizens' funds into the restart of the refinery. So whoever is coming, come with your money. So in a sense, Patriotic has shot themselves in the foot, because they now have to find this $500 million. They said Credit Suisse is willing to fund it. Okay. We'll see. So let me come back to this. Right. So purchase price financing, $500 million US. Once Patriotic had come up with that, pay it to the government. Government takes that money. They go to the financiers, the people who are holding the first lien on the assets of the refinery. Those persons release the lien. It's no longer encumbered. Government can sign on the dotted line. Patriotic, you gave us $500 million. Here is your asset. Do with it as you please. Patriotic can then go to Trafigura and say, look, we have assets worth $500 million. We sign on the dotted line. Give us $500 million to restart the refinery. You hold on to the assets. If it is we should default on the loan, you seize the refinery and you sell it and get back your $500 million. So yes, there is a sticking point of the lien on the assets. But even if there were no lien on the assets, it behoves me to understand how Patriotic could expect the government to just sign off and give them title to the assets without anything. Because if they had agreed to the 13 years, for that 13-year period, the government would have continued to hold legal title to the assets. When you go to the bank and you take a loan and you buy a car, you don't own the car until you finish pay for it. So if the bank gives you 6 years to pay, you're paying your monthly installments, you're building equity in it over the period of time as the amount you owe the bank comes down. But if at the end of the period, let's say you paid for 5 years and 11 months, and that last installment you have to pay, let's say it's $3,000 a month, you default and you decide you're not paying it, the bank will come and seize your car and sell it. They don't care that you paid for 5 years and 11 months, that you paid off the majority and it's just $3,000 you have left owing. Until that last $3,000 is paid, the bank owns the vehicle. And that is the same thing that would have happened for that 13 years. OWTU would have been paying and paying and paying, but it is only until you finish pay, then the government would sign off and say, well, look, your asset. Unless they came to an agreement where if the government said, well, if you pay off 75% or 80% of the loan, we are willing to sign over the assets to you and we will hold secondary lien on the assets. So that whole 13 years is now out the window. It cannot work because if the OWTU decides to take advantage of that, then it means that the government will continue to hold title to the assets of the refinery until the loan is paid off, and therefore the OWTU cannot pledge those assets to Traffic Bureau for the $500 million to restart the refinery. So they have to buy it outright. They have no other choice. Notwithstanding the fact that it's not the best option for them, they have no choice. That seems to be the only way they will get the $500 million from Traffic Bureau. So it is disingenuous for them to try to pin this strictly on the government to say, well, it's because of the lien on the asset, and if the government can't take off the lien and so on. Whether there was a lien or no lien, the fact is that you have to agree to pay for this thing somehow. And you cannot expect the government to relinquish these assets to you unless and until you pay for it. So, it would appear, if Patriotic cannot get the $500 million to purchase the refinery, to pay the government up front, they cannot get the assets to give to Traffic Bureau as collateral, therefore they cannot get the $500 million from Traffic Bureau to restart the refinery, and the government has no choice but to go back out to the market and find somebody who is either one, willing or in a position to take up the government's offer of 13 years to pay. Now, I don't know if that is an offer that is on the table for everybody, or if it is something that is exclusive to Patriotic because they are local, or if they find somebody who has the money to pay upfront and also has the money to be able to restart the refinery. But what we do know is that as of right now, that is not Patriotic. They are not in that position. So they have to find a way to come up with the $500 million to purchase the assets outright to satisfy the collateral needs of Traffic Bureau. So when I listen to all of this that is going on in the public domain, that the government playing games, we were misled, the OWTU and Patriotic need to take some blame. They have to. Because, and to denounce and say that the government didn't bend over backwards. They gave you all a sweetheart deal. You claim that you had the backing of Citi. Citibank was prepared to lend you $700 million. So if they were prepared to lend you $700 million back in 2019, why don't you just go back to them now in 2021 and say, well, here what now? We need the money. We know we came back and we told you that the government gave us 13 years to pay, which we thought was a very good idea. But unfortunately, our financiers who were providing the money to restart the refinery tell us that can't work because they want the assets of the refinery as collateral. So we have to find money up front now to pay for that. So Traffic Bureau shoot Patriotic in the foot too. But Patriotic not talking about Traffic Bureau. Don't gloss over it. Give the people all of the facts so that they can assess it. If you claim that you have the financing, Why not go back to city? You're asking them for less money. They were prepared to give you 700 million or so, you say, in 2019. So I see no reason why they wouldn't want to give you 500 million, which is a whole 200 million less. Go back to them. Unless, of course, they weren't really committed. Then we hear about RBC, and you're arguing a case that the government should give RBC 8 to 9 months for them to do their due diligence and so on. But there is no guarantee at the end of that period of time that they will. RBC is reluctant to sign anything, to commit themselves to lend you money at the end of that period. Okay, enter Credit Suisse. Where they come from, we don't know. All of a sudden we hear about that. So, but you say they're interested. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. But I am saying it is unfair to try and make a case or a narrative that the 1% want to buy the refinery. And you see this dotish talk about the 1%. The 1% was not one of the 77 companies that put in expressed interest in the first place. Since then, the assets of the refinery would have deteriorated some. So if the 1% wasn't interested in 2019, all of a sudden they're interested now. The implication we will hear just now is that, you know what? That the 1% were waiting for the assets to depreciate so that they would pay less for it and then buy the refinery. All kind of conspiracy theories you're going to be hearing. All kind. The government just can't win. They just cannot win. But this is a very emotive issue. The workers, a lot of the former workers of Petrotrin, who have a vested interest in this whole transaction, who are hoping to walk back through the gates of the refinery as owners when they would have walked out some 2 years ago as employees. Some of them, may have made bad investments with the money that they would have gotten, and they're looking forward to getting back their jobs. So there's a lot tied into this whole matter, right? But we wait to see how this is going to play out. But I'm just saying, I felt the need to discuss this today so that, just to clear up some of the misconceptions that are out there, how they reached the 500 million, what that represents, and why it is that we're no longer hearing about the 13 years to pay off the 700 million, and why it is now. And so those people who are saying that the government reneged on the 13 years, you understand now that it wasn't that the government reneged, right? OWT has found themselves in a situation where they have no choice but to reject that offer. They have to come up with the upfront cash because the government is not prepared to take taxpayers' money to pay off this debt. Even if they had it, and then they pay it off, and then something goes awry, and Patriotic is unable to complete the transaction, and now the government finds itself in a situation where monies that could have been used to benefit the citizens was used to pay off the debt. They have the refinery and no buyer. That ain't making no sense. So the ads are upon us. We come back, I'll open the lines. You all can call in and have your say. Stay locked. Remember, you can join us on YouTube and Iwer TV and Facebook. So we'll be right back.
Mama, we reach. We finally reach. Hey, the bacchanal don't start. Because we reaching the savannah. Put your hands up, jump up. Put your hands up, savannah. Put your hands up, jump up. Put your hands up, savannah. Put your hands up, jump up. Put your hands up, savannah. Put your hands up, well. Mash up the savannah stage and mash up the savannah stage and mash up the savannah stage and mash up the don't stay. Put your hands up, jump up. Put your hands up, savannah. Put your hands up, jump up. Put your hands up, jump it up and up, jump it up and up.
January 25th. Put your X by the ballot and vote for the PNM in the local government by-election. For Arima Central, Dr. Juliet Hillary Bernard. For Canupia, Rashid Ali. For Hindustan St. Mary's, Martina Lubon Lejeune. For Hollywood, Leslie Shang Fong. And for Montcoco Alice Glenn, Janelle Schuler Smart. All our PNM candidates are committed to serving their communities with excellence. On January 25th, vote for excellence. Vote for the right choice. Vote for the PNM. Great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
Voice PNM all the way on election day. It's the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the police. Hey.
You juice. How about me drink bigger than natural boost? Ginger, lime, turmeric. Give away every sickness. Get a bottle of this real spice. Make a healthy choice in your life. And let me drink up the juice. And let me drink up the thing from the roots. And let me drink up the thing from the fruits. The you juice. En route to the ultimate you.
The Gospel of the Kingdom radio program with Gilbert James is now on the Street 919 FM every second, third, and fourth Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and every first and third Sunday from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Monday. The Bible says, the Gospel of the Kingdom shall be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end shall come. For more info, call 652-0924 or 298-4540 and join us every second, third, and fourth Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and every first and third Sunday from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Monday for the Gospel of the Kingdom radio program with Gilbert James.
Better vision for your physical eyes, and through the eyes of faith, let healing arise in your mind, body, and spirit. At Natural Heal Ministries, we teach kingdom principles for living that brings the blessing of God to your mind, body, and soul.
NHM Professional Associates are located at number 10 Moody Stewart Street, Monrepos, San Fernando. For more info, contact Dr. Desmond Phillip at NHM on 349-3494.
NHM Professional Associates can be heard live on the Street 919 FM every Saturday from 9:05 to 9:55 a.m.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying up to the Street 919 FM. Let me say good afternoon to the folks who are joining us on YouTube and Iwer TV as well. So the lines are open. We take your calls. Hello, good afternoon.
Good day, Dominic, man. Good afternoon.
Greetings.
Yeah, brother, man, Dominic, man. I'm going to say, hello to Juliet, girl. We missing you. We love you, girl. Hope that you come back out any week coming here. Dominic, you see this
yes,
thing,
sir.
Dominic? All right, so Dominic, you give me an offer of a car. You tell me the car is $100,000. Right? You tell me you'll give me 5 years to clear the $100,000. They give me a payment plan. I calculate how much the car will value in the 5 years and what it will be really value. And I come back to you and say, okay, Dominic, I don't want that payment plan anymore of what you are giving me to pay for the car, $100,000. I will give you $75,000 cash for the car. So I change, so I move the goalposts on you, and I say, okay, I will give you cash up front. And when I go back now to my financial institutions, right, and you come back to me, I can't come up with the money. So you can't release the car. You can't release the car, Dominic, until I come up with the money. Because correct. I changed the terms and conditions where you was giving me an easy way to obtain the car, the package, to obtain the car. I make a 365 degrees on you and say, okay. And now, you telling me, well, okay, I tell you, well, I will give you this now. Now I go back to my financer. My financiers decide now that my financiers decide, well, here we're going on. I can't get the money now, so I change the whole. So I make it more difficult on my own self.
Mm-hmm.
When when you was giving me an easy way and an easy payment plan to obtain the car. Dominic, you see this whole thing, let me tell you something. You see that you see that black talk and that 1% stupid talk. Let me tell you something. As long as African people do not have economic power starting at the wholesale retail business, I don't buy them things. Right? And the one here, look one round the corner, look at black business, one here and one so. It does not reflect the composition of we in the country, retail and wholesale businesses. The fact of the matter is the government try to make it easy as possible to give. You see, Dominic, I'm going to give you a story too. I have a brethren. I want to hear Brian on this. I hope Brian jump on this morning. So, I hope you explain this thing in a meticulous way. I'd like to hear Brian's view on this as well. But he was also in the industry down there. I have a brethren who was there, Dominic. You know that fella still paying labor dues, Dominic? You see all these things people don't know. Right? And most of these guys, the same person told me that he already moved on, you know. But right. he ringing on the hope that they tell him, I said, so why are you still paying labor dues when I asked him? He told me they're fighting for the pension. So that, and some pension that the government don't want to give them. So that the story he gave me. I'm going to leave Dr. Rowley this if he listens. Dr. Rowley has a famous line. Right? We're giving them the 15 days. There's a famous line from a black billionaire. I went to do my research while Dominic was talking. We don't answer to these busters. Only God will judge us. We don't answer to these busters. Only God will judge us. And that is why that anybody who said that is a billionaire today. Dominic, I'll listen. I'll come back in. Thanks, brother.
Yes, boss.
Yeah.
Just remember, some people are required to pay their dues because a question was put to Mr. Roger some time ago, basically asking him, if it is, you all get the refinery, will you rehire all of the former Petrogen workers? And Mr. Roger's response was, those persons who were loyal to the OWTU will be taken care of. Remember that. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother Dominic.
Hey, Andrew.
Yeah, good afternoon, good afternoon. I listen to everybody, I listen to everything. And you see, I will put blame on Roger because Roger has to know, in Trinidad here, African people do not get money from no bank to do those type of business. Let us be real. Somebody talks stupidness about different races, but that is fact in this country. Look for your finance outside. Look for your financing outside. You're not getting it. You feel RBC giving you that kind of money? You will never get it. I'm telling you that you will never get that money. If it's a bad car and go down there and crash it, yes, you'll get that. And let us be real. This some of us just push our head in the sand. Be real. Look for it. I blame him for that. Because look for your financing outside. And by now, sir, they don't sign up on that already. You understand? And the next thing, we keep telling the union and them, do business, open businesses with the money up to down there. You understand? So you have a few $1 million put on there that you could have said, yes, I have a few $1 million put on there. The government tried their best. They're trying the best with you, but you have to do your best too. You understand? So I put blame on him with that. That financing inside. So look for no bank in here to finance it. He's not getting it. 9 months you have to wait for the bank to tell you if they could finance it. 9 months. Have a blessed morning. A blessing again.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic. How are you doing, Bryce?
Mr. Chance, I'm good.
What's up? Good. Good morning. Good afternoon, my darling daughter, Sharon, wherever you are. Angie, Sister Jenny, 1285, Mother Tunapuna. Yes, Rolly Jr., Barataria, calling all you out. Come on. Now, Dominic, a very interesting topic, but I want to tell you something, Dominic. I am one of those, like I said, who really want patriotic energy to be owners of the Petrogen refinery.
Yes.
I state my case up very early and up front because I buy the vision that the commanding heights of the economy should be in the hands of the worker. That's a philosophy that I joined with. However, I am fully you have articulated different sides of the business. But my contribution this morning is to point out to the people of Trinidad and Tobago the deceptive, two-faced UNC. Let me say it again. The deceptive, two-faced UNC trying to create couture and confusion in this, trying to provide disinformation to fool you and to create anxiety and confusion. I think we must treat with that. And that is how I want to treat it this morning. The UNC like a political chameleon. You know what a chameleon is? I've told you already. A political chameleon is a person who changes their opinion to suit the occasion. That is where I'm going this morning. But before I do so very quickly, I want to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago the history, who created Petrochin. You hear me, people? Who create all this Petrochin that the UNC fighting for and saying is the lifeblood of the economy, and that's what kept us. Let us very quickly. There's a report in the New York Times. Like Dominic, I like to give my research point. And the New York Times tells us that in 1974, the oil industry of Trinidad and Tobago was nationalized when the Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, bought the Shell Oil Company. So it's the PNM that initiated this business of owning Petrochin, where that same oil refinery will become the Broadlife. And he didn't stop there, you know. Dr. Williams did it the first time, and he bought it from a foreign company. So that oil company, Petrochin I'm talking about, was not originally a national company. It is the government led by the PNM, Dr. Williams. That is in 1974. In 1985, another government led by the Honorable George Chambers, he bought Trintoc. He bought Texaco refinery. See, the PNM buying it for the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He also bought it from a foreign owner. He bought it for $192 million. That is recorded in the New York Times. The new name of that company was Trintopec. Those of you in the South will know that. And in 1993, then Prime Minister, Honorable Patrick Manning, God rest his soul, he combined Trintopec and Trintoc and made it Petrotrin. So that is how we got Petrotrin UNC. On the 21st of January 1993, under the leadership of the Honorable Patrick Manning. And you can't fool us. You can't deceive us. We know, and that is why, as a citizen, when I see the actions taken by previous PNM administration, I trust them. And that's why I trust them, because they created it, and they're not going to destroy it unwittingly. That is why they want business in it. So let me ask the UNC this question. Is that same Petrochin that you're talking about that you love so much, you got all the money from that, $140 a barrel for oil. You got the highest revenue from that, and that was created by the PNM. That was created by the PNM, and that is why I said that I trust the government in all of that, right? I trust the government in all that action. But let me ask the UNC again. UNC, you remember, I think, Dominic, you spoke about it. You remember you invited and treated Mr. Roger to a meeting talking about the sale of Petrochin, and he told him, listen, go for the whole hog.
Yes.
Go for everything, man. But you never tell them you first have to get where the money is, you know. You didn't tell them it at all, you set them up. Mr. Roger didn't think about that you were setting him up. And that's why I told you the UNC are chameleon, political chameleons, changing the color to suit the situation. They set him up. And when he went, the PNM administration, the people were negotiating to them, listen, oh, you could do that. X, Y, and Z. I'm pulling back. And you know what the UNC did? After they tell him to go for the whole hog, they take it to court and tell them, challenge the government, how the patriotic can get it. And now they ask God, where the patriotic get any money from? You know what I tell you, people? That same UNC, when they took it to court, the question to court was, Mrs. Bissessa, the leader, asked, where would the money come from? But they set up Petrochin, they set up Roger, you know, telling them, go for the whole hog. and then they turn back. That is what a chameleon is, to suit the situation. Let me close by asking them these questions. I want to ask the UNC this, as I close, right? Is there a conglomerate of Chamber of Commerce people who are your friends wanting to buy the Petroleum refinery? Huh? Listen to me. Asking all you, wherever you are, UNC trolls, from the leadership right down, because I heard David Lee and Anita Haynes on a press conference this Sunday morning talking about it. What is all your game in all of this? Is it that all this setting up the situation, create some couture? So while the government waiting, you have some people getting the money together, some chambers of commerce. Who are your friends, by the way?
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That's a question that needs to be asked. Declare your hand. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Dominic, my dear.
Hi, Carol.
Again. Dominic, Mr. Ruje and the OWTU and the unions in this country, oh God, they don't know the track record of the UNC. Only taking advice from them people. They don't have your best interest at heart. You all have been bitten once before. You remember when they signed the Pfizer Accord?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, have they not learned anything? You all listening to them? They don't care about you, they don't care about the working class. They have the people, the millionaires set up waiting in the wings to run in and to undermine, and as Mr. Chance rightly said, to cause couture. My God, and I always hear Dr. Rowley say, and he's so correct, remember, be careful who you're listening to and who you're taking advice from. They're setting all, as a working class person, former working class person, every one of us were willing and happy when we heard that the OWTU, the patriotics, were getting to be players in the economy and get that thing. We were happy. And guess who was against it? Let me hear you, Dominic. Who was against it?
The UNC.
Exactly. What a tangle where we weave. And them fellas who bright falling for that. Or you should stay far from the UNC, man. When they come by you, you must say, as Jesus tells us, get the hand, Satan. We don't want to hear all you. And according to Shakespeare, your word is not your bond. But when you hear Dr. Rowley speak, and he tell you he's doing so A, B, and C, you could take it to the bank and take his word. His word is his bond, not the UNC. You all have had your own experiences with them. I can't believe that them get caught up in that crap again, Dominic. You understand? I'm feeling shame. You don't take advice from them. You don't go to them for advice. You go to professional. You know, one professional you could have gone to? My professor, Maguire. What Maguire is again, my God, just slip me. Gregory Maguire. That economist, that black man of substance. If you wanted that thing, you could have gone to him. You could have also gone to this other academic, Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name, boy? Over black and proud. You know what I'm talking about? He's an economist. You tell me like me too. Forgetting his name.
The name slips me.
Yeah, it's slipping me too, boy. These are the men. Those two black men. This Professor Gregory Maguire. And he writes his articles in the papers too. You could have gone to them for advice. Not the UNC, who didn't want all you to get nothing in the first place. Come on, man, I shame all you. And I want to tell the people in Tobago, the UNC, you know, it come like when the, I don't know if you have ever looked at the, how you call it, these Red Indian movies, right? When you see the cavalry come in, and Geronimo, and the Indians, and then used to say the white man speak with forked tongue. That's the UNC. They speak with forked tongue. You don't listen to them. Nobody takes them seriously. They're not genuine. Come on, man. So, Dominic, if you, OWTU, Patriotics boy, I hope that in the end that Credit Suisse, who you all say, will come forward and look to people who have their best interests at heart, not the UNC. Anybody else but the UNC. They didn't want all to get in the first place. Who tell you that they will want it now? You understand?
Yep.
So blessings, Dominic, my dear, and to the people of Tobago, listen to me. Dutton Duke, the proxy for the UNC, set all you up, make sandals. Right when you all could get a big deal, only listen, only lose out on that. Don't lose out this time. Go forth in your numbers and support the Balize, you know. Because if you look around Tobago, development is coming to Tobago. I got people who don't want that for Tobago. They want to get the crutches inside of there and penetrate Tobago. When I look around in Tobago, I feel so proud. It's black business, small, micro, medium-sized business, African-owned. Have pride in yourself and hold on to the balance wheel, according to Rose. Hold on to the balance wheel and vote all of me. Thank you, Dominic, my dear. Blessings.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dominic, that man who talk, Mr. Chance.
Yes.
Who talk, that man is a seer man. That man is real good. I hope we will listening to him. And Tobago have one man thing. You see, cannot Tobago. I tell you that person, they can't come to Tobago for nothing. Okay.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
I am good, and yourself?
Not too bad at all.
Nice.
Well, I think you put it very succinctly this morning in your narrative. There's nothing much more to say, really. Everybody else has spoken, and I think the individual, the economist that Carl was referring to was Mr. McKnight. I think that's the person she may have been referring to, that economist. I think he's at UE.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I was just thinking about that as well. Dominic, my concern is that a lot of people, armchair economists going around indicating that it wouldn't be a good deal, it isn't worth it to purchase the refinery at this time.
Yes.
In the global economy, and a lot of things people are saying, but as Mr. Chance indicated, why does Karan Singh and Anil Ramjit and this syndicate of chamber heads who selling cloth and spoon and pot and pan all of a sudden want to invest in a refinery? You understand?
Yes.
You see, people must ask these questions. You selling clothes, you're selling spoon, you're selling pot, you're selling pan. All these years, all of a sudden, you want to purchase a refinery. Why didn't build something in a Point Lisas? Why didn't build a refinery or some chemical industry in Point Lisas? They didn't do that. But they recognized when the UNC were in power between 2010 and 2015, and Gillett was the chairman of the board, and certain people gave themselves increase in pay, even though they were only there for a mere year or two. And then when they eventually left, indicating that some of them say they get sick on the job and all kind of thing, working in office, same office everybody working in, but then get sick and they walk out there with millions and millions of dollars and give themselves golden parachutes. People don't know, but there's a lot of money. Let me tell you this. Whatever monies is put out, is invested in this refinery, is going to be made back in 3 years' time. Made back and paid all. This is a multi-billion-dollar refinery that is going to make a lot of money. We already have, they're starting off with markets. They don't have to go and look for most of the markets. They have markets there already. So they are starting on a good footing. They have the local and they have the regional markets. And they may have some extra regional markets as well. Yeah? So they're already starting on a good footing. People who want to say that it don't make sense, it didn't go work, and other refineries try and they fail. That is other refinery business. They don't have the markets that we have. That is why we could afford, that's why Paria could afford to make money. I hope that Comrade Roger, I am hoping and praying, because I felt very, very bad when he did not, when I heard the Ember and Minister of Energy indicate that they're going to turn them down for a second time. But thank God this Prime Minister is really, as you rightly said, is willing. There's something that he's seeing, and I hope and pray that this time Comrade Roger would indeed have, I think is what it is Kiki Streets, what's the name? The people that he said that he has, the finances that he said that he has to purchase.
Credit Suisse.
Right, Credit Suisse. Gives him the $500 million, because I can guarantee you they will make it back. And people have to understand what the lien is. The lien is just like collateral, in other words. And people have to understand that you don't go into this type of business just like that and sign a dotted line not knowing how you're getting back your money.
Yes.
You know, it's just very simple, straightforward business. You know, and the government needs to ensure that there are certain things in place, written in place, to ensure that there's no straying, because this could go belly up in one fell swoop if the government are not careful, if they don't dot their I's and cross their T's. So I count every day. I am hoping and praying. If I see this week passes and nothing is said, I'll be extremely concerned, because if it is the Roger is saying that he has a financier to purchase, I don't see why it should take more than by the end of business this week in order to come and say to the country, hey, listen, we have it. We have the money, here it is. This is the check. I'm now going to the Prime Minister and give him this check, and we'll be signing on the dotted line very soon. I hope this does come about, because there are people waiting in the wings. And I will tell you all this, if those other people get this refinery, there's no guarantee that the price of gasoline will not skyrocket. There's no guarantee whatsoever. They can do what they want once they have the refinery. They will even, they will go to court so that they can discern exactly how much they're selling their oil for, their commodities. This thing could go real belly up very, very fast, and it will be a disadvantage to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we wait, we watch, we hope, and we see. Thank you very much, Dominic. Have a great day.
Thank you, Brian.
And by the way, all the best to the people of Tobago. You all know who to vote for. Just look at the attitude of certain people as it pertains to women. We can't be talking about women in a certain way and want the government to do this and the government to do that. And one person who wants to be leader of everything is talking this derogatory fashion about women and our ladies in Tobago and in Trinidad. You can't do that. We have to be very, very careful who we put where to see about our money and our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Step out in the party, and when you wave and start it, mash up the place. Girl, show them your attitude, girl. Love for your giving them attitude, girl. Give them a wine and wine good, because you look good. Girl, show me your attitude, girl. Think to wine on, let me see ya. Bust a wine, let me see ya. You put me in the mood, that bumper her attitude. Lo 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 lo. Gosh, you make your own money, girl. You turn your own house, girl. Never seen nothing quite like you, girl. Authentically, black copy, girl. No such thing, no mixing, girl. Run the thing like a professional. Never fake your original. Them cannot touch you, no way. Can't handle you, no take away.
face your pressure, no way. Can't shake your mind, no way. You're on your way. When you step out in the party, and turning heads, you started. Mash up the place. Can't show them your attitude, girl. Love for your giving them attitude, girl. Give them a wine and wine good, because you look good. Girl, show me your attitude, girl. Think to wine on, I'ma see ya. Bust a wine up, I'ma see ya. You put me in the mood. That bumper her attitude good, because you look good. Girl, show me your attitude, girl. Think to hey. Hey.
If you see me in the country and moving like a monkey, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you see me in the city and acting like a tipsy, I drunk, but I mind my own business. So leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah. So if you see me in a party, whining on every shorty, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you search for my location and find it in a station, I drunk, but I mind my own business. So leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way. Leave me alone when I come through, yeah, move out the way, let me stunt. Leave me alone when I come through. All night, those are the you not at all. I just want drink more rum, more alcohol. Not bottle and spoon and drink the rum. Beat iron and drum and drink the rum. Girl, wine up on me and drink the rum. Drunk fashion, not bottle and spoon and drink the rum. Beat iron and drum and drink the rum. Girl, wine up on me and drink the rum. Drunk fashion, I drink by myself. My rum is my friend. My girl, she go ghost. Still doing the most. If you see me on a Monday and act like if it's Friday, I drunk, but I mind my own business. If you see me on a Juve and act like if it's payday, I drunk, but I mind my own business. Just leave me alone when I drinking my rum. Just leave me alone. Whining on girl. Just leave me alone. If I causing a scene, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
Enagic change your water, change your life. Enagic water purifier, one machine, 5 types of water. Enagic makes strong Kangen water with an 11.5 pH. Kangen water with 8.5 to 9.5 pH, healthy drinking and cooking water. Clean water with 7.0 pH. Beauty water for skin, hair and plants with a 6.0 pH. Strong acid water with a 2.5 pH. This water is known to disinfect, kill viruses and bacteria. Listen to the Street 919 FM with Pastor Alkaline John every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to noon and every Wednesday from 8:05 p.m. to 9 p.m. as he talks to you weekly about how to improve your quality of life through purifying and drinking water. For more information, call or WhatsApp Pastor John at 516-286-7079.
Peace in the name of the Lord Jesus. This is Bishop Tony from the Church that Christ has built. I will be bringing the word of God to you on this very radio station, the Street 91.9 FM, on Wednesdays 11:15 to 11:45 a.m. Tune in and be blessed. My book, Your Future in the New Heaven and New Earth, will be on sale. Purchase a copy of Your Future in the New Heaven and New Earth. Call 1-868-364-2119, 1-868-363-4520, or 1-868-287-0850. Where are you going to spend the rest of your life after death? Jesus said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. You could live in one of those mansions happily forever after you die if you believe. Look in and listen, call and clarify, purchase and be blessed. In Jesus' name.
This
This is Bishop Aaron Williams from the Divine Problem Solving International Ministries, inviting you to be part of our broadcast on any given Thursday night from 12 midnight right on to 5 a.m. on Friday morning. And this broadcast is called Early Morning Gospel Market Program. Then we have on Tuesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. the Holy Ghost Gospel Pharmacy. If you are sick and ailing, you could get from this particular pharmacy, from the pharmacist, the good things of life. Hallelujah. And any Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, break into the house of the Philistines. Hallelujah. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, hearing the babel of false doctrines that you encounter daily, it's about time you get close to God. God's word direct from his throne room in the name of Jesus.
God has good plans for his people. Why do you worry so much?
Finally, a line of baking products that caters for the gluten-free, cholesterol-free, egg-free, and dairy-free person, enriched with sesame, flax meal, and chia seeds. Also try our line of seasonings and spices that are ideal for diabetic, kidney, heart, colon, and hypertensive persons. Perfect for the whole family. Healthy O, the healthier way to go. Find it in a supermarket near you.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
T.R. Teddy Rhymes. Yo.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Dominic?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, this is Button Trace.
Hey, Button Trace.
Oh, boy. Yesterday we had a wonderful time.
Nice.
With my candidate, Mr. Chance. And Darian Marcel, them came down with our entourage people. And boy, we had a good time yesterday supporting. We had a motorcade now for Miss Martina Leisure.
Yes.
Right, and boy, we had a real ball. We had a good time, and we got some real good support. So I just called to thank Mr. Chance and Darian Marcel and them for the opportunity to come in to support us. Right, I would like to say thanks to them. And I know if Sharon was here, she was going to come too,
Yeah.
Because she had promised me that she will come, but I know she is in Tobago. So we had a good time. I only hope we'll be successful.
But how are we looking?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
How are we looking down there?
Well, we're looking all right, you know. But oh boy, it's the first time I see in election mood that independent candidates doing well, you know. I don't know for the day of the poll.
Right.
But right now the support you get in is
Mhm.
just after the PM. Just behind the PM, you know, not too far.
Okay.
Yeah, boy, like getting a little more support on the UNC.
Nice.
Because yeah, boy. So let me watch and see. Let me hope for the best tomorrow.
Yes.
All right.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes, sir, good afternoon.
Dominic, also to add to the mix, there's a lot of things that the government will not be able to put out in the public domain because of the confidentiality of the thing, right?
Yes.
Because if the union don't get the finances and take it, and the government lets certain things out, it will must be the interest of other people, even the 1% of them, and they will want that sweeter deal too.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is why I have a problem with Ansel Roger having these press conferences and going into details with certain things, but he one-sided with it because you have some other questions too,
mm-hmm.
which you brought up.
Hello.
It's an institution.
Yes.
And then there's another financial institution that you're now saying now. So it keeps shifting the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the government must protect the interests of the tax taxpayers and them of Trinidad and Tobago. Although the government has bent backwards to give you a nice deal, but then you're looking to me, look like you're stabbing me in my back, man. You know what I'm saying? And then again, I'd ask the question: where's this guy named who was there before until and become a government minister? Remember, he got his pension from the OWT.
McLeod.
From McLeod. Errol, where's Errol? Errol get his pension from OWT. He get his pension from Petrogen.
Yes.
He get whatever deal he cut with the UNC and went into thing with them. Me know if he benefited anything from that. But as a government minister, he's supposed to be getting some sort of an extension there again. But Errol, it was used to tell us that the government, they had better ideas on how to run the government, doing so much chopping. That's why there's always say the problem with the GTM plant. It's not the GTM plant itself; it's where they put it. And had it not been sabotaged, what would have been the benefit to Trinidad and Tobago on that? Because from day one, when it was on paper that they was going to do that, they was against it from day one, you know. When it was only announced as an idea before they decided to go into it, and they just think that even this guy, you know, the one who is in the political party, you know, in charge of David Abdullah, they protested against that right through. They never give that a chance. They never give it, and that's what I always try to tell these guys and them. It's not about who. And because if you do like the ruling government and you do like whatever person or whatever thing, once come to Trinidad and Tobago, you have to be patriotic. You understand? Because so I would really like to see the union get it. But the next thing, getting it is one thing, but run it is the next thing, you know. Because let's say government go to them terms and give it to them. They have financiers. The financiers watching them doing shipments and helping them and bailing them out. There's going to come a time when the financiers say, well, I'm looking to give back my money now. They can't pay. It will end up in the hands of the financier. And if the financiers are foreigner, they come and own our assets. And this is the issue I have. They have to come better than that. They're moving unprofessional in the way how they're doing this thing. They're giving out too much information to the public concerning the deal and the dealing done here. So until and them, it shows until and them the capabilities and them they probably will have the manpower to run the factory itself, but in terms of the financial part and those things into that thing, they need help with that. And they have to go to somebody who's like certain that to advise them further and then, hey, I go and say that in public, yes. You gotta keep that inside because you're going to be still under negotiation. Because basically what they're doing, they're negotiating with the government still, you know?
Yeah.
If they can't offer the finances and if you want to get a different term, whether they're negotiation, but should we know about certain things about that at this time, or should you hold back that, deal with the government with that, and then when it's completed, then they could give us the details of it. And that's the issue I have with Ansel and them guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let me say something. At first, we have to remember that the OWTU, they are part of the MSG. And to me, as far as my recollection, they were playing a political game before the election. Because they gave the government over 200 recommendations and they dragged their feet. But I wish them all the best. I know this is something that Dr. Rowley wants. Yes, he wished that he could really wave a magic wand and give you all it. But the government do not want the expenditure and any responsibility for the refinery. They want to be putting their foot in their mouth if they even make any inch of investment into the refinery. It would make no sense. They would have closed down the refinery. And the UNC, forgetting and feel as people forget. They are the ones who was going to court to find out about how they get this, how they win this bid. They was going to court. It's just that local government election, and then she said she didn't know, and all kind of thing when they started getting backlash. They're not interested in that. The UNC may be studying, hey, You know, this is something we should have done in our time. You would have been able to hold the government at bay if it hold on the refinery and sell this and sell that. But they wasn't doing that. Them wish that they could have privatized everything before they leave. They're now kicking themselves. We have to think as a people. Them don't want that. Them don't want no petrol on the OWTU or nothing. Them have to watch themselves for the next 15 days. The government and the OWTU, because them will not look to script to find out something and bring it out in the public. Them going to play on the minors and that or no.
That's right.
Watch, wait, and see. Them not interested in government. I can remember I went the marshal with Roger. And he said it have a man who came there on that Kamala Prasad visa, came there to work in Petrotrin for 3 months, get sick, and they pay him off like if he worked there for 10 years. Complain about the air condition. Something was wrong. They mismanaged that so bad. The government had no choice. What did they do to show us that they care about us? She went and signed with the oil companies and them not to pay any taxes till 2024. Is it because you know you wasn't going to be in power? There is not somebody who cares for our country. Mr. Dominic's a politician who cares about you will sign for these oil companies not to pay any taxes.
That makes no sense.
No sense. And then the media do not let her answer no questions at all. How could you make such a decision? What investment did Kamala Prasad made for an oil boom? The country was in an oil boom. And this is something that the people forgetting. Oh, under Kamala you will have get this. Under Kamala you will have got that. You will have got it. But as she gives you things in abundance, what do you have for it? Nothing. You get so much and you have nothing. Them cannot say the same. They cannot say the same. These are the kind of investments they made for you on that oil boom. We scampering now with nothing to invest. When in fact she could have done so. And then she have the ultimate goal to come to face to you to always talk about the economy, and the economy is dying. We are too forgetful as a people, and they only want to come down on this one and that one leader. But at the end of the day, none of the People's National Movement leader has become so filthy rich that the children, which all of them children have to go and work out there and study hard. Some of them, they don't. They just have to sit down and collect money. What you are, these are the kind of investment that the UNC talk about. Selling Sharama's father amount. What investment they made? Building a wastewater treatment plant and paying off the person on the leave election night with $1.2 billion. What did they do? Before they leave power signed $2 billion to OAS? What are the investments that Mrs. Kamala Prasad made with your interest at heart? Not no fly by night thing to get man 10 and 15,000 and all them small money and to do that. We're talking about working for the country and making an investment in the country. I'll tell you, the only party that did it was the People's National Movement. And we have to watch it and see it. All the UNC has plans for is to mash up the country and make sure they're making money. They have no plans and they never had plans for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dominic, again, brother.
Yes, sir.
Dominic, when was the last year, when was the last time Petrotrin made a profit? What year that was?
Whew. A long time. I don't think they made any profits even while the PP were in office.
I think 2016, I think, or something like that. Okay. But all right, when the debt started, the debt started with Malcolm Jones and the GTL plant? When did the debt start? Because it's saying that Malcolm Jones and PNM is responsible for the debt. You understand? From what I heard, that I think 2016 is the last time that they made a profit under them, and it was the debt transcends government from since the Patrick Manning era. straight up the road to the Kid Rowley regime and the partnership. But they are putting the GTL plans was, I think, 2 billion or 3 billion.
Yeah.
They are putting their UNC supporters, as I heard in an Indian format statement with Chitish and Karen, that the debt that Malcolm Jones and PNM is responsible for where Petrotrin is today. But from what I was listening, when I was listening to the energy minister, the finance minister, I think I could recall that the debt transcends government. It was a cumulative debt. Yes, Malcolm Jones, the GTL plant, that the ground that was, and I know the GTL plant right now, a private investor take it, and people are employed, right? My friend is also employed there right now.
Yeah. I've been planning to deal with that issue for the last 2 weekends, but I get it.
So what happened is as the previous caller said, that the foundation was really the issue. But right now he is employed there for the last couple months working for a few months, a former Petrotrin worker. Right, so it wasn't all that bad, and the idea was noble. So you see me, I don't like to deal with propaganda and lies and stuff and things like that. What I am saying is, as we go, as you pull out the dossier facts there, that until Roger, we must not forget as well. Now, my partner is actually fanatical about the OWT. Don't believe that Ansel Roger don't have a fanatic. They are a political party too, you know. They have political aspirations too, you know, Dominic.
Yes.
They are part of the MSG. So we must not feel that there's no politics in the mix here. You understand?
Yeah.
Yes, we will like them to get it. And that the government and that Ansel Roger, they was given a right. What do I explain to me again, Dominic? How this Royal Bank came in the mix with fine? They are saying that the government, MSG is saying that the government does not want to release a guarantee of them for the refinery in order for Royal Bank to give them the money. How Royal Bank reach there?
Right, because the Patriotic has rejected the offer to pay for the 13 years, right?
Right.
Because apparently Trafigura, who is giving Patriotic the 500 million to restart the refinery, they want assets as collateral, and they want the refinery assets. But those assets are currently being held by the company that would have refinanced the 850 million bond.
Right.
So unless the Patriotic comes up with the money to give the government to pay off the bond to release the assets, the government can't do it.
Right.
So that's why they now have to go and try and get money from RBC.
Oh, so RBC came in the mix after they moved the goalpost from
Correct.
the offer that was right.
That's right.
So what certainty that RBC is going to take the deal, going to give them the finances, and they want 9 months? That's more deterioration for the
Correct.
plant. And after the 9 months, a bank's not going to give you money to lose them. A private entity. So if after the 9 months they run their assessment and the independent assessment and say, hey, this don't worth it, where do we go against all of the government hands again?
Correct, and not only that, RBC may say, well, when we give you this 500 million, we will we want first lien on the assets. So then it still leaves Trafigura out in the cold.
Right. Traffic guru has to be dealt with first before anybody gets their hands on the assets. Well, so this is what I said. So how is it the government is to blame for their rejecting the offer? Say you gave me the car at $200,000 over a 5-year period. I come back to you and say, hey Dominic, here what's going on? I get a financer, right? To give me to pay you off, I'll give you 150, but release the car.
Yeah.
You say, but here I can't release the car until, so I end up now in a jam now, losing the deal, the offer that you gave me, and then stuck in a monkey pants by my financer doesn't want to give me the finances because the car is not being released by you.
Right, because I took a loan for the car. You need to give me money so I could pay off my bank. Right. Otherwise, I can't give you the car.
Dominic, I have a partner that went through exactly that same thing with a Mercedes-Benz some couple months ago. They want him to release the car to them, but he took out a loan from the bank that is still due for him to pay. That needs to be paid off before he released the car. And he told them that wasn't the arrangement from the start. So you see, until I could get the finances from you to pay off my finances, that is the only way I could release the Mercedes-Benz to y'all.
Yeah, well, we had to leave it there. The ad's coming up.
Yeah, Dominic, thanks, man.
Yes, boss. Check us in the morning. Out of time, but not other things to say. Join me, Sharon and Bruce in the morning. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm out.